Hi, Howard. This is the 246th consecutive episode of The Green Room. How are you feeling tonight?
Oh man, have you seen what's behind us? Have you seen the lineup? It is. Storyteller central. I'm excited. Who do we have, Giselle?
We have three incredible storytellers and competitors tonight. We have film and TV great Diane Franklin, and what is she best known for?
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Amityville Horror as well. Many other notable credits as well. Yeah.
And then we have a man with so many awards and nominations. I can't even keep track of them, but he is a Tony Award winner. So that's super cool. And that is Mr. Joe Mantegna.
Yeah. Also a 3-time Emmy Award nominee and a Golden Globe nominee. You don't get those awards or nominations just because you run into a film set, and no, you get it because he has put in some amazing work, and I'm super excited to see what Joe's going to bring tonight. And last but not least, who do we have, Giselle?
We have 2-time Emmy Award winner and WGA nominee Robert Wuhl, who created Arliss. He is also here this evening. We have 3 incredible competitors, and I want to know what Stevie Ray has to say this week.
I'm excited.
Hey guys, it's your boy Stevie Ray here again this Saturday night on another TKN Celebrity Tournament prediction. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are dealing with everybody that's on the show tonight are from the arts, acting that is, movies, television, things of that nature. And we got 3 good ones, man. Starting out with my man, Mr. Joe Mantegna. You guys know this guy, Tony Award winner, 3-time Emmy nominee. The man has been on everything, brother. And he's the real deal. Yes, Mr. Joe Mantegna is here tonight to lay it down. And number 2, we have Miss Diane Franklin. Yeah, Miss Diane Franklin is here to take it all, from what I heard. And you guys know her from The Last American Virgin. You guys know her from Better Off Dead with John Cusack, I think that was. And I even seen her on an episode of Matlock. Yeah. So you know she's here to do her thing. But that's what we do on the TKN network. But last but not least, if you guys remember the TV show Arliss, the sports agent, yes, a Mr. Robert Wuhl. He's going to be here tonight. 2-time Emmy Award winner. But see, I know this guy because he worked with WCW once. And the movie that I remember him from is the Hollywood Nights. Not all that other stuff that he did, but the Hollywood Nights, because I'm a car guy. And that's what that movie was about. So Mr. Robert Wuhl is here. Let's see if he can do as good as Newborn Turk did in the Hollywood Nights. I'm watching you, Robert, but my predictions are Joe Mantegna, Diane Franklin, they will move forward. Newborn Turk, he will burn out. That's just my prediction. See you, and I wouldn't want to be you. Peace.
This is different.
And I love it, man, because it got me thinking like I was back at school again. I don't even know where you come up with these questions. I want to know how you come up with these kids. You're so innovative. I'm like, look, I mean, your mind is good. Like you say, you're a history teacher, and your mind is going all over the place. So,
and it's also wonderful to hear people talk sanely to each other.
You have something amazing going with the show because you're there and you're educating us.
Sure. Your platform gives us an opportunity to really let our guard down. And I never told anybody in public about that experience with my dad. And on your platform, I don't know why I did that, because it's so comfortable and we're talking about things that matter.
I love the little anecdote of comedy with your would you pay for it? Would you not? I love that. I love how you added that in to kind of break up the tension a little bit because it gets serious.
We want to know people's stories,
I concur.
And that's what TKN does, So I love
uplifting human being. Last name Ferrigno, first name Lou. Lou, welcome, my friend.
Thank you. That's the best introduction I've ever heard in my life. You know something? You need to quit the show and be my moderator and travel with me.
Together for a majestic, out of this world, one-of-a-kind human being. First name Vivica, last name Fox. Welcome, my friend.
Whoa, that was an awesome introduction. Let me tell you that. I don't think I've ever had anyone read my resume with such flow.
Avi is a poet, but he doesn't know it, but his feet show it.
You're unbelievable.
Last name Wilkins, first name Lenny. Lenny, welcome, my friend, to the celebrity tournament.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to this. It should be fun.
Last name Murphy, first name Calvin. Calvin, welcome to the tournament, my friend.
Damn! You said it just like I wrote it.
But these rhymes are going to wind down as I've reached the home stretch, the one and only Tretch.
You better than a lot of these rappers out there.
You gave me good eargasm tonight, man. I love your voice. I love the things that you talk about.
Well, you're the best I've seen. You're the Michael Jordan or LeBron James, whoever you want to make the GOAT.
This is why your audiences love you. This is why you continue to great guests, and great guests beget great guests.
I just want to do this again and again. I feel like I've made friends. And again, I've taken the competition part of it out because I've just enjoyed talking to you guys tonight.
Oh man, most definitely. This is, I think my top. Because when you do the intro you gave me, I gotta get to. I like.
You deserve it.
I can count my friends on one hand. Well, wait, on one. You.
Oh man, thank you so much, my friend. Because if you don't heal from what hurts you, you'll bleed on people that never even cut you to begin with. It had nothing to do with your pain.
All right.
So
tell him.
You guys are bringing the best out of me.
I mean, yes, pain is inevitable. I mean, there's a reason we have these sensors in our body. I mean, they're warning signs. In other words, something hurts. Obviously, something is amiss.
But she would sit at the kitchen table looking out the window for quite a period of time while the food was getting prepared. And I wish I had took that time to sit down with her and ask her questions about her being a child, along with my aunts, my uncles, so I could not only be a blessing to her and know more and sympathize and love her more as a mother, but also to know more about myself and my sisters and understand where we've come from.
This thing has drawn me out of myself and thereby drawn me into myself. But I learned a lot. And from you, I always learn something from you.
Continue to work as hard as you can, because by working, Avi, you will keep yourself busy and get used to the grief.
More underrated, we have Billy D. Williams, Italian man named Skippy, or unicycle.
I'm sorry, Italian men named Skippy. Put me away, Abby.
Archie Bunker, the mountain climber. Ralph Cramden, the yoga instructor, or Don Corleone, the computer repair person.
It's clearly an issue with the hard drive.
I'm going to go Don Corleone.
Here, the reason I'm going for Christmas is because it does create
those amazing memories that and Sarge, I know you've been there too, because I've seen you at so many different great events for Muscular Dystrophy Association.
You compete with yourself. The Joe Reed, especially working with him, taking pictures in the magazine, helping me to shape my body and educate my mind.
There are those of us who like to venture to the unexplored, to see the beauty in the strange and unknown. Those of us who go out there with a sense of wonder.
God, matters not how strait the gate, how punishment charged the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
There is nothing that was on TV tonight that even remotely rivals what we did on this broadcast.
Hi, I'm Rick Barry, a member of the Basketball Hall of Fame and one of the NBA's top 50 players. And I'm really excited to tell you about my new relationship in the broadcasting world with the new network.
It's TKN, and a young man named Avi Klein has poured his blood, sweat, and tears into creating this new network and assembling an amazing group of individuals.
Legends from every walk of life who are just bringing their knowledge and their experience and their wisdom, and this is amazing. I feel like this is a cosmic convergence of what is most important to him, and he's such a stand-up guy.
Avi, congratulations. I don't know anybody that can talk as much as you. Seriously, I thought I could talk. You are unreal. What you do it with class, understanding, professionalism. You're simply amazing. I told you that when I first met you, and you ran off my autobiography. It basically was a book. It was simply fantastic. And to think that you do that every show.
It's very respectful, and he really connects with the artists and his audiences, and I felt like this guy's on to something, and I'm proud to be a part of this with him.
And I really thank your support. I lost my father, and you were the first person to support me in all that, and I thank you so much for that.
The greatest wealth is when you can share it with someone. You can share your victories, you can share your failure, you can express your deepest feelings, but the greatest wealth is to be able to say that I have a friend, and I feel an unbelievable level of wealth, and a lot of that is because I have somebody like you.
Are you here to win the whole darn tournament?
I don't play. I just win.
Robert, would you like to win this entire tournament?
You know, all those luminaries and athletes and strongmen notwithstanding, the most dangerous place on this show is between me and that prize. That's all I'm going to say.
You're chomping at the bit to get in this thing.
Yeah, man. I've been telling you, brother. You brought up some names to me, and I was like, I can't wait. I hope they don't see me, because it's going to be on like a steaming pot of neck bones, baby, and I'm not playing.
Are you here to win the entire thing, my friend?
I'll just say this, Avi. Winner, chicken dinner.
But are you here to win the entire celebrity tournament when it's all said and done?
I saw a very familiar face in Mike Rotundo, better known as IRS, and he said that he was here for the winner chicken dinner, and I want to take away that chicken dinner. So yes, I want to win this whole shebang.
Last name Smith, first name Joe. Joe Smith, welcome, my friend.
Oh my God, Avi. Where did you get all of that from? Oh my God.
Guys and gals and pals, welcome. It is Saturday night, as you guys know, and we are here to give you a great dose of edutainment. That's where entertainment marries education. And guys and gals and pals, on this station, we promote positivity. So before I bring in these great luminaries and awesome friends and great individuals, let me just say thank you for being 3.7 million strong in just a bit over a year. Numbers. You guys aren't numbers. You're people. And behind those numbers, there's stories. And I want you to know, guys and gals, that there have been friendships that have blossomed through this process. I think relatability is our calling card, but it begins with respect for our fellow human beings. And that's what this tournament is. There's nothing wrong with healthy competition when we're having a tournament that I dub a sport of the mind, where we have philosophical conversations. And when you vote, you're not voting, as you guys know, with a pitchfork. No, that happens out there, not in here. What we do is we say, thank you for resonating with me. Your talking points resonated with me. Your topics, the way you handle them, resonated with me. So thank you guys and gals for being so civil, because that's what this stands for. At its core, that's what humanity should involve, the capacity for compassion, for empathy, for connection with others. So guys, thank you again for subscribing to our criteria of kindness, which I think should be conventional. Let's always be kind no matter what. And to the studio that didn't believe in this, right now, guys and gals and pals, we are lucky that positivity can reign supreme and still, guys and gals, reach a bigger platform thanks to all of you saying more and more and more. And guys, speaking of more, I want to bring in our first participant right now, and I think of the word storytelling when I think of him because it reveals meaning without committing the error of defining it. Our first participant is a man of honor, respect, dignity, and virtue. He's found the similarity in what's apparently different and then found himself in all of his roles. Do you know what that's called, guys? Honest and truthful storytelling. And through his work of art, we, the audience, have absolutely benefited greatly.
He's great. He was our first one, and he was the best.
And everybody started calling me Phenom. I mean, he was a winner. Those guys are like my big brothers.
There's a large turnout, and I think that probably, as far as things that I'll never forget, that's got to be one of the best. Unforgettable.
I feel great. I mean, it was good. It was good for me. But if I had something to do, it seemed like I always did it. And I'm going to start trying to give back some of what people's given me. Well, those people mean a lot to me, too. But I need to tell them I love them.
Tops off everything that I could ever wish for. It's been a great honor. I'll never forget it.
I hope that people at the end will say, he turned out all right.
Yes. But if you saw guys like Billy Wilder, who did everything from Some Like It High to Sunset Boulevard to Stalag 17 to Witness for the Prosecution to The Apartment to Double Indemnity, I mean,
Good
those
Lord.
guys were all over. So my father was a cryptographer, and I said, so Dad, did you get a piece of the message? Did you get the message about dropping the bomb? And he said, no, I think it came over in pieces. You know, I don't think it came in one piece. And he had something like Little Boy Down, something to that effect. But what was cool was my father, the best thing about the story was he didn't lie. He actually thought, you know, he said, I didn't know. I thought Eleanor Roosevelt was coming over. But she'd come over to the Philippines the year before.
Mr. Robert Wuhl, guys and gals and pals, let me give him his proper introduction right now. Our first participant tonight is a man that is class personified, and our conversations off camera are always intelligent, insightful, and a whole lot of fun. He won 2 Emmy Awards for co-writing the Academy Awards in 90 and 91. He grew up a Yankee and Roger Maris fan. He loved the Orioles, Frank Robinson, and Harmon Killebrew. Do you guys and gals and pals need more hints? Certainly. Here's another clue. He showcased his range and versatility in Bull Durham, Tim Burton's Batman, and Good Morning Vietnam. He's a baseball aficionado and could probably name every major star from Canada to Guam. His love for the game might have been acquired from his father, Sonny. Later on, his hit HBO series covered the inner workings of business, sports, and yes, the money. After 7 years in Houston, he did stand-up at the Improv in Manhattan, where he shared the stage with Seinfeld, Larry David, and Paul Reiser, to name a few. He also wrote jokes for Rodney Dangerfield. Hopefully he likes my material. If not, you could just lie and forget about being true. I'm kidding. Then came a hit HBO series that we all remember. It began as a sports version of Spinal Tap. He created, wrote, and starred on this show, which resonated with the masses, perhaps even more than this rap. He was nominated twice for Best Actor in a Comedy Series for his refreshing and truthful performance. This incredible HBO series that I'm referring to is Arliss. He made us laugh. That is of high importance. He's accomplished so much, and listening to this baseball aficionado stories are always a ball. So please put your hands together and welcome a legend of a human being. First name Robert, last name Wuhl. Welcome, my friend, to round 2 of the celebrity tournament.
Well, thank you. That was very kind of you. It's very nice of you.
Absolutely, yeah.
I changed hats again. This is my lucky hat from last time. I figure I wear it again.
That's pretty cool. And you know what else is cool? I love how you I want to bring in Mr. Joe Mantegna, guys, and we're going to be off and running. I want to bring this up because in that clip, I don't plan any of these things as far as I do a lot of prep, but when it comes to us being here right now in the present, you brought up your dad, and I remember something about your dad who once had a tryout as an outfielder, I think, with the Newark Bears. They were the New York Yankees farm team. Is that right?
That is correct. That is correct. He didn't make the team, but you have to be pretty good to get that far. I learned the game. I learned the game from him mostly.
Right. Okay. So that is your inspiration, I guess. Would you agree that some of the greatest moments in life are something as simple as watching a ball game with your father?
Well, baseball lends itself to that. As does all sports. I mean, that's fathers and sons.
Yes.
And now, but now the thing has changed. It's now fathers and daughters. I'm very close to my goddaughter, and she's gone to. I've gone to every baseball stadium except Tampa Bay.
Wow.
I've been to every one, and she's been to about 20 of them. So I mean, we're going to go to. We want to catch the game in Sacramento where the A's are playing the next 2 years. I want to see the minor league stadium.
I think that's really neat. I think for all those who are wondering about baseball, and of course, Robert, I love hearing you talk about baseball. I think it's a game of generalists, right? You think of football, which has a lot of specialty positions and players, but in baseball, you got to do everything. You got to hit, you got to run, you got to field. It's so much more challenging than maybe people are even aware of, Rob.
Well, yeah, now it's not as much as generalist as perhaps it used to be because of the designated hitter, and a closer, but it's still a pitcher, But you usually, but yes, if you're in the field, you got to run, hit, throw, catch.
Sure.
Where you don't have, exactly. Thomas Boswell, the great writer for the Washington Post, wrote about this very same thing, that football is a game of specialists and baseball is a game of generalists.
But there's no doubt about that. I agree with that. Robert, I got to ask you this before I bring in Mr. Mantegna. A lot of fun over here. We're glad we got picked up again after about a couple years of doing this. You've been here since day number 1. Yeah, you've been a huge help. 15 grand is nice. It could be something that you grab, or it could be sent to a charity of your choice. 5-day trip to Greece. Would it be nice to win the entire celebrity tournament, my friend?
Sure. Yeah, it's nice to win. Life is always better when the home team wins. It's my motto in life. Life is always better when the home team wins. And that doesn't mean always in sports. It can mean family. It can mean business. It can mean politics. Life is better when the home team wins.
I agree with you, my friend. And thank you again for being a friend and a gentleman throughout this entire process. I will put you backstage for just a mere moment, bring in Joe, and we'll be off to the races. Thank you, Mr. Wuhl. Guys and gals and pals, love talking to Mr. Robert Wuhl. Love his energy, love his insight, love his class. And when I think of this next gentleman, I think of the word class as well. Hopefully starting to get to know this human being. I can tell you right now that his pearls of wisdoms are delivered in such a way that speaks to me because, believe it or not, off camera, I'm kind of soft-spoken, and I think this gentleman is as well. He really appreciates humanity, and I appreciate him for that. Guys and gals and pals, opportunity dances with those that are already on the dance floor. Do not do the work for recognition, but do work worthy of recognition. And our next participant epitomizes the latter because his beautiful works of art go several layers of magnitude deep. He's filled many a blank canvas with honesty, which makes him quite the artist, but his honesty and truthfulness and compassion isn't exclusive to his majestic artistry. It's a part of who he is, a human being who truly does care for others.
Where those who perceive truth may strive to make others see, every thoughtful citizen who despairs of war and wishes to bring peace should begin by looking inward. And man can be as big as he wants. Man's reason and spirit have often solved the seemingly unsolvable, and we believe they can do it again.
Those who act boldly are recognizing right as well as reality.
And so it is that I carry with me from this state more than fond memories or firm friendships. They are an indelible part of my life, my convictions, my view of the past, and my hopes for the future.
It's, it's the journey we take, in our lives, from birth to our ultimate passing, that we experience these things. Some people obviously experience it in a much greater way. Some people I go by the motto, everybody has a story and nobody gets a free ride. So, no matter what it is, I think a lot of times people will go in life, they'll say, oh boy, I wish I had his life. Boy, look, that's perfect. I wish it was. Then you dig below the surface and you may find out it's not so perfect. You listen to that speech that he gave on the steps of, I believe it's at the Lincoln Memorial, I had a dream. It's, when as an actor, you hear monologues and you see monologues and this, that. But when you hear something like that and you realize this is not entertainment, this is a recounting of history. And when it moves you to where it's like, it's actually causing your senses to react and your things inside you to churn and tears come to your eyes.
So very aware and so very present, guys and gals and pals. I want to bring in this gentleman right now. And do you want to know why inspiration matters? Because if you could process the following, imagine being a young child. Your parents are barely scraping by. You have no clue that you'll be writing for a living and living in a dream that couldn't possibly be reality because it's what heaven on earth must feel like. But I digress, because you're grateful that your second cousins get you some Nick tickets. When they actually were competing, even though they're doing so now. It took a while. But then your parents take you to a Broadway play instead. You fuss, you complain, but then you're inspired. David Mamet, Speed the Plow. The following luminary epitomizes that very word because he did on stage back then, guys and gals, what he does every single day of his life. He paints on a canvas that was perhaps initially blank, and he painted beautiful works of art. And he inspired me when I was a youngster, watching that play. And as I tell my students, in this craft, there are no mistakes, only discoveries, guys and gals and pals, only discoveries. Guys and gals, this man helped me search for such a paintbrush. He was born in Chicago and got an early start as a storyteller, playing a dog and a pixie on hospital shows. He would entertain his family by doing an impression of singer Johnny Ray. Even back then, his resume grows and grows. That 1951 tune, The Light Cloud That Cried. Soon he would be on quite the ride. He did rather than tried. But it's time for a quick aside. At Morton East High School, guys and gals and pals, in Cicero, he was assigned a project on British culture, and since it was 1963, was there ever any doubt? He and his buddies decided to make their project a Beatles band that included Ricky Johnson, Neil Sordelli, and Art Stout. Later on, opening for Neil Diamond and Paul Revere is enough to bring a tear to the eyes of those that never fear to appear and declare that they are indeed here. From the Weasels to the Apocryphals, they were running thanks to drama teacher Jack Leckel. His passion for the arts were as powerful as a primal scream for Mr. Hyde and as nurturing as a Dr. Jekyll. The Goodman School of Drama at DePaul in 1967 was next, and 2 years later, a role in the 1969 production of Hair. His range was vast, and whether it was being big and bold or a beat that gave us quite the stare. It was never rare to witness this man always there, in present time, in the moment. That is where we trust. His Broadway debut came in 78. In the production of Working Seeing, this was a must. There is no just in theater. This Renaissance man also wrote an incredible piece called Bleacher Bums, which was adapted into a movie, guys and gals and pals, in the year 2001. But I digress. Who can forget his incredible portrayal of Richard Roma on Broadway, which earned him a Tony Award in the production of Glenn Glary, Gen Ross? To our animated audience, we appreciate his work on The Simpsons as Fat Tony, a mob boss. Let's talk about his range from his iconic portrayal of Joey Zaza in The Godfather 3 to Airheads, to Forget Paris, Three Amigos, Searching for Bobby Fischer, Up Close and Personal, and his many collaborations with David Mamet, whose words resonate while taking us on a ride. From House of Games, Lake Boat, to the one that hit me deep, the powerful 1991 film Homicide. He's a Golden Globes nominee and a 3-time Emmy Award nominee, and in 2011 had a star on the Walk of Fame. But despite the name, the acclaim, and the fame, he remains the same. And as for these rhymes, I'll put them away in a moment, and I'll close the blinds. But I can't forget to mention this man's iconic work on the hit series Criminal Minds. As he states, do the best you can with the means that you can, and try to open yourself up as much as knowledge, guys and gals, is always there for us. Take it all in. Taking this advice will surely help us all grow, to know that even when life makes us go, whoa, we made it to the show. So put your hands together and welcome a legend of a human being and talent. Last name Mantegna, first name Joe. Welcome, my friend, to round 2 of the celebrity tournament.
Avi, I'm speechless. It's a good time to be speechless because you did it, my friend. You handled it. Thank you so much.
You deserve every bit of it, my friend. And before I bring Mr. Robert Wall in and we'll tackle the first topic, thank you for always letting everyone know that their story matters, that we all have a story, as you brought this up. Many a times when we've spoken as well on the show in the first round, I think you drove that point home, and it really resonated with yours truly. And a good example of that is, I think this is your humility here. When we talk about growing up in Chicago, your dad was in the insurance business, but I think, God bless him, he was fairly disabled, Joe.
Yeah, he was. He spent, all of my uncles were all involved in World War II, and the only reason my father wasn't, he was hospitalized during the entire World War II with tuberculosis. Gosh. He was in a sanitarium up in a mountaintop in New York, in Mount McGregor, New York, and so I wasn't even born yet. But,
sure.
My brother was born in 1940, and my brother didn't even meet my dad until he was almost 2 years old. Because back then you couldn't be traveling between Chicago and New York that easily. But anyway, so then they took out one of my dad's lungs, took part of another lung out. So I was lucky to even be born. And my dad, he was put on disability fairly early on in his life and only lived to be 57, but he was lucky to even live that long. So sure. Yeah, he had a tough road to hoe, but God bless him. He was, he was always there for me, and I'm glad I got to know him as long as I did.
Oh, your love for your parents and your humility really speaks to me. Your mom, she worked at Sears. The main store, I think, was in Homeland in Arlington, right, in Chicago.
Right, it was on Homeland Avenue in Chicago. She worked in the mail order because Sears was so big back then. She used to wrap the packages. That's what she did for 25 years.
That's incredible. And after that, you guys, you never owned a home, but you lived in an apartment initially in a big apartment building. And after that, I think you moved with your grandparents in a building that they owned, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, my mother, in fact, well, it's when my father passed away in 1971. My mother then moved in with my grandparents on the home that all my uncles built, because all my uncles were bricklayers, as a lot of Italians were back in those days. And so my mother then spent the next 50 years of her life living, in the home with my grandparents.
Wow, that's absolutely.
My mother lived to be 101, so God bless her. She had a long and fruitful life.
Well, my friend, again, it could be to a charitable cause, it could be to anything, but definitely a great cause, because this tournament is not just a sport of mind. I always say this is a place where strangers leave as friends. We have great, honest conversation in a safe space. Would you like to win it all? We're talking $15,000, 5-day and 5-night first-class trip to Greece for 2. Would you like to win the celebrity tournament, Mr. Mantegna?
I absolutely would. And I'll tell you right now, if I do win it, I have the Mantegna Family Foundation, which helps a lot of different individuals in all various ways. And so I'll tell you right now, if I win, that's where those go, because this is not my day job. And this is a lot of fun, and it's it's valuable, and it's entertaining, and it's all those things. And so I'd be proud to win, and that's where it would go. But regardless of that, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much, my friend. And Joe, we can't hear you well, but the camera's frozen, so you may want to just refresh that. And
you know what it is? I don't. What happened is I don't see. All of a sudden, I don't see you guys at all.
Oh,
So
wow.
I don't know what to do here.
I want to bring in Mr. Robert Wall and see if he can. If
You're on. You're on.
Oh, there we
Start
go.
over again, maybe.
No,
No,
you're
there we
working,
go.
Joe. It's not
Yep.
working.
No,
Now
it's
it's
I
on.
went straight. I went right back to my home page on my computer. So let me go back to the mail, and
Okay.
then maybe I could just start all over with the.
Because we could see you now, Joe. It's not
Yeah,
frozen
we
unless
can see you
can't.
walking
I
the
see.
dog.
I don't see you guys. I don't need to
Oh.
see you guys at all. But I don't. I see nothing. I don't. I lost my vision.
No,
my
absolutely. You
vi-
could totally sign back in, Joe. Absolutely. Sure.
Let me see how I do that.
Not a problem.
I'm trying to get to my mail.
What I can do is send you the link all over again. No problem.
Here we
Okay.
go. Wait a minute.
All right.
Sign in for Thursday. Wait, I got the link here. Let me do this. Entering the studio.
Sure.
It says loading. Mic is working.
Sure.
Display name. Enter studio.
Okay.
Am I
Let me
there?
Yes, sir. Let me make sure I minimize this and bring in. Can you see us now, Joe?
I see you, but now I'm getting an echo. I'm not getting it. I'm hearing myself twice.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I could take out your echo cancellation. That might be it. How about now, Joe?
That's still doing it.
It's still,
That's
giving
still
you
doing it.
Because I guess I had the audio.
Because I guess I had
before, but
audio
didn't have the video.
before, but now I have
Maybe
video.
I should start the whole thing over.
Maybe I should start the whole thing over. Do you get here an echo?
How about now?
No, it's gone. No,
Oh, it's
no,
gone.
it's still there. It's
No,
still
it's
there.
back.
Let me dial
Sure.
back in again. Can I do that?
Sure. Absolutely.
All right, let me dial back in. Let me start all over.
This is where you need a PA, Joe. This is where,
man.
when you're on a series, there's these young people who can do this like this.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely
We'll
right.
put you on the studio.
I didn't grow up with internet myself, my friend. It could be so frustrating with technology. It's definitely not Joe's fault or anyone. Let's see if this is better, my friend. Okay. How about now?
I'm good now.
You can see us, my friend?
I see you. I hear
Perfect.
you. Life is returned to normal.
And thank you again for the kind words. I truly appreciate it. I will present topic number 1 to our audience. Guys and gals and pals, we'll be off to the races. This is the first topic, and I call it What's in a Word? That's the topic. And in this particular scenario, Mr. Robert Wall and Mr. Joe Mantegna have been granted permission to go back in time. They've been handed several sheets of glossy paper, guys and gals and pals, and each sheet of paper has one word written on it. This word has the ability to resonate with the person it's gifted to. And the person reading each word can add that particular quality to their character. The first word on the first sheet of paper is courage. The second word on the sheet of paper is pragmatic. And then the third word on the final sheet of paper is tolerant. We'll start off with Mr. Robert Wall. Which historical figure receives the first sheet of paper and why, the second and why, and finally the third? Take as much time as you would like, my friend. The floor is yours whenever you're ready to go, good sir.
Well, courage is the first one. So sadly, you just had him narrating. But I'm going to split this up because I'm going to split the courage up for 2 people, both presidents, one for something they did and the other for something they didn't do. Now, the one they didn't do, of course, I'm going to go to JFK because in my lifetime anyway, you cannot minimize the Cuban Missile Crisis at that time. You cannot minimize where our country was coming off of a victory in World War II, feeling pretty good, young president, everybody thought he may be soft, and now, he's a playboy. There's a great book Chris Wallace has written called Countdown 1960 about the whole election, which old man Kennedy, had a lot to do with. But everybody in that war room, with the exception of Bobby, perhaps McNamara, I'm not even sure, they wanted Kennedy to go in and attack Cuba, which we don't know what would happen. It may have led to a nuclear situation. It took, Curtis LeMay, the general, they were all, and for them to prove through negotiation, a little gamesmanship, to come up with a blockade, pretending you didn't receive certain memos when you did, that took great courage to stick with his game plan. On the other hand, I'm going to go with somebody who did just the opposite and talk about the courage. And he never gets credit for this thing. Okay, we had JFK. I'm going to go to HST, and that's Harry Truman, for the courage that it took to approve the dropping of the bomb. Not popular to say that these days, but let's put people in their proper position here. That bomb going off, according to Ken Burns, saved between up to 1 million, because if my father was there, so it was estimated that because Japan was not surrendering. That's not happening. You know, that not back then. They were going to fight. They had women fighting with brooms ready to go. They fought for the emperor. They were going to die for the emperor. They estimated that for us to invade Japan would have cost up to 1 million American lives and up to 7 million Japanese lives. Instead, he made a decision that ended the war within a week. Now, unlike wars today that may be going on, we have to, again, and Joe, I don't have to tell you, you know better than anybody. Back then, World War II wasn't like, you may know somebody who had a son somewhere. Everybody went. All the families went. You had your brothers, your fathers, your uncles, everybody. And Congress people had their kids in there, unlike today. So when a war lasted 4 years and nobody was home already, it was time to end it. And if you're going to not, and there's a great line in the Ken Burns documentary, The War, where a woman she says, "You're never going to convince anybody of my generation that dropping the bomb was the wrong thing to do." I mean, but I want to get to Truman, because that took balls. That took balls. And a dear friend of mine and directed a comedy special for me was a D.A. Pennebaker, the great documentarian. You know, he did The War Room. He did the Dylan movie, the Don't Look Back. And he was, DA was as left as they could be. He was, very liberal. He told me a story that he had come back from VE Day on a boat. And he was being shipped back out to Japan. He was on the boat with all the soldiers going back out to Japan when the bomb was dropped. And they found out the war was over. He said, "You never saw more," because we knew half of us weren't coming back. He said, when they said the war was over, you never saw anything like it. And DA is about as, left as I know anybody ever was, and a great guy. So this revisionist history may be nice in theory, but I thought it took great, like he said with Harry Truman, the buck stops here. With that decision, it sure did. So that's my two courage guys.
I appreciate you informing our viewers about the history of it all. What you mentioned about the Cuban Missile Crisis, again, I think that was the moment where Kennedy didn't trust his military anymore. That was the moment where Kennedy said, and I think Eisenhower even warned Kennedy. He told him, look, the military-industrial complex, he warned him against it. Some of the refugees, the Cuban refugees, were cab drivers. They were lawyers. He was told they were trained, but they weren't trained. They were slaughtered, of course, by Castro in 1961. And then when the Cuban Missile Crisis occurs in 1962, in the fall of 1962, he was the one that had a level head. Essentially, everybody else in Camelot wanted to proceed forward when World War III was imminent with the Soviets. And John F. Kennedy was the one person who sort of did not want to proceed forward in that body of water. He did not want to. And Khrushchev, we have a lot of news about the Pope. The Pope was back channeling, actually, through Khrushchev and Kennedy. He was the one communicating with both of them. They were willing to make peace 10 years before détente occurred in the 70s. So there was a lot of what ifs. What if John F. Kennedy, of course, continued on in that second term? Some people say he would have pulled us out of Vietnam, but they ask why didn't he initially, when he said, hey, let's just train the ARVN, let's not fight for them, let's train the South Vietnamese. But he was waiting for 64. He was going to run on that ticket. but he never made it to 64 because he gets assassinated in November of 63. So the words, let me ask you this, Robert. If you were to assign, I love the word courage, pragmatic and tolerant, would you assign those words to anyone from history?
Oh, yeah. Pragmatic. This is one of my favorite stories. On March 2nd, 1955.
Yeah.
A black female woman boards a bus in Montgomery, Alabama. She is then told to give up her seat for a white hobo. When she refuses, she is dragged off the bus and put in jail. And her name is Odette Colvin, and she was 16 years old. Now, E.D. Nixon was the president of the Montgomery chapter of the NAACP.
Right.
And he's looking for a test case to test their rule. And with her, the 16-year-old honor student girl, he's got the girl he wants, except they discover she's pregnant by a married man.
Right.
And now E.D. Nixon is up a tree here. He needs the white press to be on his side for this case. And if he brings up a 16-year-old pregnant girl, unmarried with a black girl, it's going to play right into the white stereotypes that he is trying to fight. So instead, E.D. Nixon basically sacrifices Claudette Colvin.
Right.
Until 3 months later, his secretary, by the name of Rosa Parks, does the same thing, and they're ready for it. You know, this was not random. They were very prepared.
Sure.
So when I think of the word pragmatic, I think of E.D. Nixon, because he said, in his quote was, I had to have someone I could win with. That's pretty pragmatic to me.
That's incredible.
That's a good story.
She's still alive, and
yes, she is.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
Late 80s. I don't know if you guys remember Diane Nash, the freedom writer. She's still with us as well. Diane Nash is one of the original freedom writers. She's still alive. And when I used to teach U.S. history, I brought her in as a key speaker, and my assistant principal had no idea who she was. And when I mentioned her vast accomplishments and achievements as a human being, first and foremost, she gave her one of these, oh, hi, and brushed her off. And I said, that's when I got to get out of the education system. I mean, and this is the same assistant principal that once walked in on my Do Now and said, hey, Avi, you spelled Douglas, Frederick Douglass, wrong. You put 2 S's. I go, it had 2 S's. That's how he spelled his last name. And that's when I know I got to get the heck out of there. Pragmatic. And Robert, what about
Tolerant?
the other word that, yeah, what would you tolerate?
Well, the first name that came was Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
I just thought that was funny. Also, Betty from the Archie series, she's been pretty tolerant to that guy too.
Yeah, sure.
She did for many years. Now I could go with those guys like Gandhi or Mandela, something like that. But I'm going to go with one that I think Joe's going to appreciate. We all know, if you said Jackie Robinson, it would be pretty, it's hard to argue with him. But instead, I'm going to go with the guy who had to go through everything Jackie Robinson went through and more. And that's Larry Doby. I think Joe's going to like this one. Larry Doby joined the White Sox 3 months after Jackie Robinson joined the Brooklyn Dodgers. And Bill Veeck, the Maverick owner, the great Bill Veeck, he hired him. He had wanted to integrate earlier, and he was stopped by Kennesaw Mountain Landis. But he brings Larry Doby in. But unlike Jackie, Larry had it a little tougher, I think. First of all, New York is a more liberal city at that time in 1947, a lot more liberal than the Midwest of Cleveland. That's number one. Number two, Jackie had a bridge year. Jackie went from the Negro Leagues and played a year up in Montreal for the Dodgers Farm Club, the Expos. And so because he knew Montreal was much more racial, it was more racial patient.
Sure.
And also let the fans get used to this thing a little bit, see how he does. Larry Doby went directly from the Negro Leagues to the Chicago White Sox. Never played a day in the minor leagues otherwise. He went through everything the other guy went through, and when I think about Tolerant, this is a guy who was a Negro League champion, a World Series champion. He was, he did everything, and finally took him, and he got into the Hall of Fame after many years. And I thought, and he became a manager. I was going to say, just because of it's baseball, and it's also, I think he's tolerant because you never heard him say, "Hey, what about me?"
Right.
Also, in today's athlete, it would be, "Oh, what about me?"
Sure.
But it wasn't like that back then. And a guy like Larry Doby, I mean, it's like, what else do I have? Larry Doby, Negro League All-Star, 7-time Major League Ball Club, Negro League World Series champion, Hall of Fame, and he managed. I mean, I want to give Larry Doby his due. I'm sure there's maybe a better answer, but I thought that was a good one.
No, I love listening to you. I love learning. This is such an education. I always tell our viewers, I got the best seat in the house because I get to listen to you and Joe Mantegna and all the other incredible human beings here that, again, I always tell the people, if we peel back the layers, there's much more to the person than the persona, and I'm glad we're finding that out each and every time we're here. Thank you for delving into that topic. It means a lot. Thank you for being so detailed about that. And our viewers, I know, appreciate that as well, as they'll appreciate the same question from Mr. Joe Mantegna. I know that the suits and ties in the back want me to bring this up again, so I know Joe and Robert are aware of this topic, but let me read it out one more time. Again, this is for the suits and the ties. In this particular scenario, you've been granted permission, Joe, to go back in time. You've been handed several sheets of glossy paper. Each sheet of paper has one word written on it, and this word has the ability to resonate with the person it's gifted to. The person reading each word adds that particular quality to their character. The first word on the sheet of paper is courage. The second word on the next sheet of paper is pragmatic. The third word on the final sheet of paper is tolerant. My friend, which historical figure receives the first sheet of paper and why, the second and why, and of course the third? Whenever you're ready to go, good sir, the floor is yours.
Great. Well, first of all, thank you, Robert, because I loved everything you said with all of your choices there. And thank you for wearing that hat. Because first of all, being somebody who's totally unpolitical in the sense that I never have aligned with a party. I've been independent my whole life. And
Same here.
You know what the veterans are my hot button. The military is my hot button. And so, because they ensure us all the right to be political if we so choose. But in my instance, I figure it's not my place or position to say, oh, I like these guys better than those guys, because then it negates everybody on the other side.
Absolutely.
And that's
Absolutely.
So having said that, but it made me think politically just in terms of these answers. And so the first one, and I'm going to be somewhat presidential as you did when you mentioned Truman, which you'll find out in a bit that it's ironic. But my first choice for courage is actually Lincoln. I thought of Abraham Lincoln. I'd send him that thing only because ever since, obviously, since the Revolutionary War, this country has been through a variety of conflicts, mostly there as opposed to here. That was the one that was here, and that was the one that could have, in a way, disrupted the whole idea of the United States of America, which is what we are called and which the place we live in today. So here you've put this thing on this guy who, maybe the fact that I'm from Chicago, that Illinois kind of thing resonates a little bit for me. But here's a guy caught in a position where, okay, we've got this conflict going on that might indeed separate this entire country. They talk about, Canada being the 51st state. It could very well have been, it could have worked out that it could have been Canada, this part of the United States, and that part of the United States. As it turned out, that's not what happened. We had the Civil War. And so I started to think that the courage that it took for Lincoln to kind of act as that somewhat the mediator in the middle of all that had to go through the amount of time that it took for that thing to kind of, resolve itself and set the tone for what was going to become the country that we are. And there's a reason why he is as revered as he is today. And there's a reason why his memorial, I think, is the most kind of dynamic, I feel, in Washington, D.C., and the one that I think most tourists from around the world, when they come to visit this country, there's something about what he stood for and who he was and what that was about, resonates with the idea of being the peacemaker, being that one that, and that takes a lot of courage, because you had to figure there's a good portion of the country that would have loved at that time to see him dead. And of course, ultimately, that kind of is what happened to him as a result of that. So I give the courage card to Abraham Lincoln for those reasons. Now, if we're going to jump to next, pragmatic, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to keep it in this same vein of the politics, partly because I'm not political. Yeah, so I wanted to think of it in terms of the individual, not in terms of what party they represented or anything. So for pragmatic, I went to FDR, Roosevelt, because here I thought, here was a guy, here's a guy that's basically had polio, was in a wheelchair, this, gets thrust into the presidency. He had a cousin that had been the president, all of a sudden, I was lucky enough, I was visiting the archives in Washington a few years ago, and it turned out the guy who runs the archives is a big Simpsons fan. And I've been doing Fat Tony on The Simpsons for like 34 years. So he was like so thrilled that Fat Tony was coming to visit the archives. So I promised him I would give him an autographed photo of Fat Tony. He says, well, in return, let me show you something not everybody gets to see. So he took myself and my assistant down into the bowels of the archives, and he went to some safe and pulled out a cabinet and then opened a file, came out with this file, opened up this thing, made us put on gloves. And I had these gloves on, and he took a thing out that was in plastic, and he said, here, read this. And I'm thinking, okay, what's this going to be? And I could see it's a typewritten page. And I could see already that there's corrections on it, there's scribbles, there's little marks. And then I read the first line. On December 7th, 1941, a day that shall live in infamy. And I realized now I'm holding the piece of paper that Franklin Roosevelt read from when he gave that very famous speech right after Pearl Harbor. And I got the chills because I had all my uncles were in World War II, and one of them was at Pearl Harbor. So it's things like that made me think about what everybody went through. Then in my travels, doing, been blessed enough to do a lot of travel in my life, doing film locations and things. And I've been to a lot of, and I'm sure you have too, Robert, military cemeteries all around the world. I mean, to be in not just like Normandy, but to be in a small town in France. I was in this very small town about an hour outside Paris, and I happened to pass this graveyard, and I noticed there's a French flag hanging and an American flag hanging. And I said to the driver, I said, why is there? And he goes, well, we've got Americans buried there too. It was this town called Rambouillet, which is, and I go, and so I said, well, let's stop there for a minute. And I go there, and here's all of these American graves. And I'm thinking, these young men and women, probably 18, 19, whatever years old, never got a chance to even come home, So I give pragmatism to FDR because I'm thinking he got a lot on his plate, and he did it for 12 years. I mean, now they make a big deal out of, should the president do another 4? And I'm thinking, I don't even know how it even can get through 4 with the amount of pressure, tension, this, that, you got the world on your shoulders, whatever it may be, and whoever that president may be. So this is a guy that was having to make those decisions in the worst of times, as opposed to the best or even the average times. And then, oddly enough, and this, honest to God, I've written it down already before this thing started, I wrote as my third choice, Harry Truman. And I put Truman in third place, just in conjunction for the reason you put him in first place. You put him there for courage.
Was it? Yeah, it could have been.
Which was great, which is absolutely correct. And I put him in the position, I'm spacing on the word, for tolerant, because and this was the reason. I thought, first of all, I don't need to explain over what the courage it took to do the thing of deciding on, and I totally in agreement with you. We needed to do that. Lives were saved, including Japanese lives. A lot of people didn't understand that when we dropped that bomb on Japan, the Japanese had never in the history of that country had ever heard the voice of their emperor.
Correct.
he was a god. So
Correct.
gods, you don't hear the voice of a god.
Correct.
That was the first time in the history of Japan that the emperor had to go on radio and broadcast on speakers, the war is over, we have to end, because he realized otherwise there would be no more Japan. You know, we didn't have the amount of bombs that he thought we might have, but the thing is, if we did, he realized there's a country that was going to face annihilation. So the reason I would want to award then the tolerance thing to oh my God,
Truman.
The reason I stopped is because I just lost my thing again because my on the phone. As long as you can still see me, I'm all right. Is that once this was done, what he could have done is there could have been a variety of things that could have happened. Had let's say Russia would have had the bomb, and maybe had been the ones that had bombed Japan. There is a chance that Russia might have said, you know what? Why don't we just keep Japan? You know, this is a country, but it's not that far from we are. This gives us a strategic thing. We'll just occupy it. We'll just take it. And so who's to say? And obviously, if the Nazis had won the war, there might have been, we saw already that they were taking, France and wanted England, and they already taken Poland and whatever. But what did America do? America decided, no, not only are we going to not do that, but we're going to help rebuild. And so that, to me, that was an example of tolerance in the most positive way, because you are in a way giving back the birthright to an entire country. And we were certainly definitely in a position. Now, obviously, we might have had some arguments from whether it was Russia and England, the Allied powers. But at the end of the day, it was an American plane that took those bombs in, and we paid the price for doing that, and the responsibility for doing that. And if in return we would have said, no, we're gonna be running this place until further notice, I don't know if anybody could have objected or done anything about it. But that's not what happened. In other words, Truman. And the other thing that impressed me about Truman with that is his last day of his presidency, he got up, said goodbye, got in the car with his wife, and they drove back to Missouri and went back to his home. And, from that point on, people would walk, past his house. They'd find him on the porch, waving to him on a Sunday afternoon. To me, that's an example of what a president, president acting and past the kind of behavior and game plan they should be about, So I picked 3 different presidents, and in many ways for similar kinds of reasons of the choices that Robert made. But that's what I'm saying.
But I have to say, none of them could hit like Larry Doby.
No. And look, there might be a divine intervention.
None of them could wrestle like Abraham Lincoln. He was a wrestler.
There you go. And hey, there might have been divine intervention for Larry Doby because the new Pope is a Sox fan.
Yeah.
So
is he really?
He is, yeah. but as a Cub fan, I have to consider he is Pope Leo the 14th, and 14 was Ernie Banks's number. So I mean, maybe even subconsciously, the Cubs are being represented as well. So.
Well, we're all human. Mr. Mantegna, if you can, you are frozen again. If you want to kind of maybe do the sign-in thing, it's okay. It's not a problem.
It happened all over again.
I'll actually edit this part out. That's okay. Not a problem at all.
I'm sorry. Okay, let me.
Oh, there we go.
Go here. Here we go. Is it entering the studio? Here we go. Enter studio.
Okie doke.
Am I there now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you see us, Joe?
I see. I'm getting the echo, but I don't care about the echo.
I'm going to take care of the echo. Let me take care of that.
Okay.
Echo cancellation. This should do it. How about now? Is that better?
Yeah, I'm good now.
Perfect. Joe, thank you for being able to interweave humanity with information. You guys are doing that so seamlessly. I love it. Thank you. Because again, the knowledge, I think we have just to give you an idea of our audience. Our audience they're made up of storytellers. They're made up of historians and educators. And thank you guys for, again, being able to delve into a creative topic and supplying so much information to the masses. I have a question for you guys before topic 2. Is it possible in your estimation, and anybody could jump in if you'd like, is it possible in your estimation to still like a commander-in-chief and a president while not subscribing to the policies? Is it possible to not subscribe to their policies but still respect in this case, the man. We have not had a female president yet. Do you think that's possible?
It should be. It should be possible.
Okay.
I think there is I would say there's a nice amount of who actually feel that way. You don't hear them though.
Sure.
It's the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. I think both sides on either side are so entrenched that it's difficult. I mean, my wife, like I said, unlike Joe, my father was a Republican, my mom was a Democrat.
Sure.
And but I got to tell you, I never remember one political discussion in my house ever growing up. Ever.
Oh, wow.
Ever. It was no big deal. Now it's the Crips and the Bloods. But the thing is that I have never, like Joe, I've never signed up for anything. I don't want any literature. I don't want anything. I try to respect both sides, but I basically think both sides are full of shit. Sure. But I try to, that's the game.
Sure.
That being said, it's like when I tell people, like my wife is to the left of Lenin, Lee and her friends there. This is Hollywood limousine liberal over here. Now, when I say that when I bring up how good that Reagan could take a joke as better than anybody ever saw. Reagan was great at taking a joke and having you would think that I would fully right way. It's like, I mean, Reagan was better. I mean, as a comic, I can tell you this as a comic, I'd much rather work Republican. Al Franken said he did more Republican private events than he did Democrats.
That's so wow.
First of all, the Republicans could afford it more, he said. But yeah, Republicans I've always felt could take a joke better than I've always felt that. That's got to do with policies. When I tell people about, because they're so ingrained in what they think, and it's all the whole world, I would say, which president, they were talking about Caitlin Clark, and I said, what president signed Title IX? Who signed Title IX that gave women's sports? There would be no women's sports. You would have no women's sports, no athletes, none of Title IX. Do you know who supported doubled the funding for the National Endowment for the Arts? Do you know who started the Environmental Protection Agency? Do you know who's for and proposed a single-payer universal health care? Do you know what president did all that?
I'm curious to know. I'm curious. Richard Nixon.
Yeah. Wow. Nobody ever brings that up, though. I mean, and by the way,
and broker deals and made peace with international countries that we had in about 20 years as well. The China
but
thing, sure.
Lawrence O'Donnell was the one who told me about the universal health care and how it was killed by Ted Kennedy. Ted Kennedy later said the biggest mistake he ever made because it was a Nixon thing. So they played politics just like today, and they killed it. And it was single payer universal health care. That's what everybody's been screaming for. This is back, 40 years ago, 40 plus years ago, almost 50 years ago.
Well, they wanted his head because if you remember, he was essentially trying to toss out people in his cabinet. Poor Spiro Agnew. He thought that'd be enough. It wasn't enough. They wanted Nixon. They wanted Nixon.
Be careful.
He was pushing reporters. Yeah, I mean,
let's get careful here. Careful. I mean, Nixon to me is the most Shakespearean figure of my life.
No, he a tragic hero. And
he does all this stuff.
Right.
Joe, then you got the other side with the paranoia and.
Well, that's what I was going to say. He was watching George C. Scott portray Patton twice a day for a year. That's documented. That's not conjecture. He was watching the movie Patton twice a day for a year. Because of what you just mentioned, there was paranoia there. But he also later on in '94, when he passed away, he was giving really awesome interviews, and he had this level of accountability. He was accountable about his mistakes, and then of course he talked about what Robert brought up, which is thank you for saying that, Robert. You brought up something that most people don't know. So there's the yin and the yang. Like maybe that's what policies are. They're representations of us because we make mistakes one day. And the next day we learn from them, or at least we hope to. And that's really kind of what policies are. But somehow we take the policy that somebody stands for and we immortalize them because of that said policy. Now they become the policy, not the human anymore. And maybe that's why we can't necessarily root. We root for our political figures like we do our sports teams. And I think that's dangerous.
I agree. And also we take them down to one word. Describe, Johnson, they'll say, the Vietnam. Well,
right.
Johnson's a lot more than Vietnam. I mean, we talk about Kennedy. Well, Kennedy went kicking and screaming into civil rights.
Civil rights.
It was Lyndon Johnson who did all this. That's the one.
He doubled down on Vietnam too.
Right. Nixon, it's Watergate. Okay, that's that's always going to be Watergate. Clinton, it's going to be a blowjob. It's going to be a blowjob.
Correct.
It's going to be,
Gerald Ford placeholder. I think that's what people will probably use.
No, Gerald Ford was just
and the Warren Commission as well. But yeah,
right. I mean, it's always one. It's going to be Bush. It's going to be, I don't know. Is it going to be 9/11? It could.
That's a good question.
You don't know. I mean, but we always do this down. I mean, Biden's going to be something probably.
What's funny is
in spite of the achievements, it'll probably go with this book and everything else. It'll probably be the health problems.
And what's funny is
that's what we do. That's what we do. I mean,
take the sexual aspect out of the Clinton thing. You leave a president who left us with a surplus, all these other things. But it was tainted with that thing. It makes me think if he had been the president of France at the time, that wouldn't have even been an issue. What he was doing on the side, you know what I mean? It's something that would have fallen way down the ladder of priorities. It would have been like, oh my God, he did this. Instead of impeach him, let's let him stay another 4 years. Because he may be trying to do a mea culpa for this kind of embarrassment that he put everybody through. So it's kind of like, it just depends how you look through the glass,
I think so, but I think we're the only country, Robert and Joe, that maybe want to look at what our presidents and political figures do as sort of pop figure icons that we celebrate and worship, instead of going, hey, look, you just brought up Clinton. How about the Criminal Act of '93? How about his, of course, Janet Reno and Waco? That was early on in his first term. But there's so many things we can maybe pick apart and maybe learn from. But we go for the low-hanging fruit all the time. We always go for the low-hanging fruit.
Well, yeah, but first of all, that's that's just the way. I was watching that great CNN's Jimmy Carter documentary, our first rock and roll president. And the thing that stuck with me was at his inauguration, the first guy on was John Wayne, and he walks out and he goes, "Bet you're surprised to see me here." And he goes, "I represent the loyal opposition." Accent on the word loyal. See, Wayne gets a bit of a bad rap too, because if you watch him, he gave a horrible interview. Never going to be able to turn that well or to play well. But Wayne respected. If you read the biographies, he was a conservative. He was definitely hardcore. But if you had a position, he respected you if you stood up for it. He said, people say, he goes, the two biggest lefties I worked with were Katharine Hepburn and what's her name, who won the Oscar? She was in Hondo with them.
Was that Maureen O'Hara?
No. She won the Trip to Bountiful. Joe, who did the Trip to Bountiful? She won the Oscar. Geraldine Page. So he said, he goes, two biggest New York, best friends with both of them. He said, and Geraldine Page is nominated for an Oscar. He said, Wayne is not Ward Bond. Ward Bond's a different story. Ward Bond's is danger, Sure. But Wayne is not. Wayne's like Jack Ford. They're different. But again, that was great when he said he would be there. Paul Simon says, "I'm in the wings, about to go on. Who am I standing next to? John Wayne. What's he doing here?" So different world. Different world.
I don't
know how you guys feel about Bill Maher. I watch his show religiously. I think he's 90% of the truth on time.
I think about as much in the middle as somebody can be in his position.
Well, yeah, he gives it on both sides. If he doesn't, I just think he's more. But again, I know all the friends of my wife's on the left. Oh, I hate Bill Maher now. I hate him. I hate him. Joe, you know, right?
Such an emotional reaction to this stuff too. Such an emotional reaction that people.
Oh
have.
Yeah, I mean, okay, he went to dinner at the White House.
Yeah,
that's a big deal. I mean, it's that, you know.
And I'll say it here because thankfully our sponsor here, and guys, I just want to kind of showcase this for a bit over here. I know that some of our viewers are hungry. We hope that they're not hungry for anything negative, hungry for the salaciousness. You won't find it here. But if you are hungry, guys, Progresso Soup's the way to go. I got to tell you, chicken noodle soup, it's great. I'll leave the shill out of here in a second, but I do want to let you know that our sponsor trusts us. We can talk about current events, and there won't be a lightning bolt from the sky. Odin won't drop anything. I promise us. Trump, you're bringing up Trump. I could bring up that name. You know, he went to meet Trump, and everybody lost their you-know-what when they found out that he actually said, I had a nice conversation with him. I found him to be a gentleman. He was talking on a humane level. He wasn't talking about the politics. He wasn't talking about the policies. He was simply saying he was a pretty cool guy and he welcomed me. And we had a nice conversation. That's all he said.
And he went right back to tearing him apart right on the show. He didn't change anything.
Politically, yeah. That's
true. But you see, when you're on an extreme side, you don't want to hear politically. You don't want to be fair. You're not interested. You're not in a fair business.
That's a good way of putting it. Last question, and we're going to the topic too. Do you guys think that as a country, if we don't have, and this goes for every country, if we don't have a political enemy, we can easily turn on ourselves? Have we seen that happen?
I think it happens all the time.
Okay.
Because it breaks down to whatever the other, it happens in neighborhoods. It happens so it could happen on a block, something that's happening on your city block. I in a way, I always feel like it would be nice if you see those signs when you go in certain neighborhoods and says, we have a neighborhood watch. I mean, I grew up at a time where the neighborhood cop was the cop on the beat. You knew his name and he knew yours. When I was a little kid playing in Chicago on the street, when it would get dark out, I'd feel a little tap on my head and I'd turn around and it was the policeman, the beat cop for the neighborhood, would say, "Joey,
right,
you should be going home. It's dark, getting dark out." "Oh, thank you, officer, whoever." And I went home. I know that's a little idealistic and
I think it's
idealistic.
Yeah.
But it was like, it was an example of like your world existed. It started here. It started with the home, within your block, your neighbors. You knew every neighbor's name and this and that. And it branched out from there. We've lost so much of that. And so because of that, because you don't know who the guy next door is, and because we're on these computers instead of talking live, face to face a lot, it's a little easier to I think, initiate animosity over something that sometimes doesn't even exist. You read about a rumor of something, and all of a sudden it creates a, what did they say? What? I hate him now. I hate them now. It's like, so I mean, it's got nothing to do with politics or anything like that. It could be just the most simplest thing in the world. Hopefully we're evolving to be more intelligent. I blame it all on lack of intelligence. We've just got to keep evolving. We started as cavemen. In some aspects, we're almost still there. But we just
when do we peak, though? When do we ever peak, Joe?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh man, I'll tell you. I think your generation, and I mean that. I always tell a lot of our guests from your generation. I think that's when we peaked. I think my generation, all downhill. And you mentioned the devices real quick. Carl Reiner. I wrote for Carl Reiner for about 2 years before he passed. And Carl, upon talking to a young writer in a writer's room, not myself, the young writer asked him, "Hey, I'm doing stand-up today. Do you have any advice for me?" And Carl said, "Come over here. I got some sage knowledge for you." And the kid leans over and he said, Carl Reiner tells him, "Don't suck." So that's the first thing he told him. And then the second thing he told, I mean, it was so simple, Rob. And the second thing he said was, don't get trapped by looking at reviews. Don't get trapped by being online and celebrating yourself. He goes, "What do you mean I'm not celebrating myself?" He goes, "Now that you're performing, it's going to stream here and it's going to go here." And he mentioned YouTube and it's going to be everywhere. And all of a sudden your friends are going to like and heart everything with all these social media platforms. And it's going to get to your head and it's going to ruin your creativity. So don't just separate yourself from that world as much as you can. And he was right.
When you asked about the enemies, finding an enemy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this also has to do with economics.
Sure.
If you're fine at home and you can feed your family and their college, you're not looking for enemies. When times are bad, and then you say, "Well, why is this happening to me?" And then you look across the street, why isn't he having that problem? And why is that group over there? Then you start getting that. It has a lot to do with economics, I think. I really believe.
That's a good point. And also, I think AI is they talk about it. It's true. There's something very scary about AI in the sense of you don't want it to get to a place where you're not even sure if a human being is responsible for what's being put out there. You know what I mean?
That's a great point. How do you separate fact from fiction these days? And hopefully, one thing we can do is remind the younger generation to not.
That's been going on for a long time, separating fact from fiction. I mean, that's not that. I mean, you can go back to Pulitzer. I mean, you can go back. By the way, the other thing you brought up too is about saying our generation, and Joe and I are the same age. I would always, I mean, when I think of what they say, oh, you guys are the late great, and I hear the greatest generation, which is our parents' generation, because Joe and I are from the last generation that had parents that went through a depression and World War II.
That's a good point.
So that's right. You know, that's something that this generation, not even this generation, didn't have a thought. But here's the other thing too. What I always come back with, I go, I don't know. I think the pioneers were pretty tough people.
Oh,
you talk. I mean, when you think they had to go through like, go through Indians,
yes.
and slave, and mountains and weather and covered wagons. My generation, Joe,
you're right.
We get pissed off when we get a middle seat on an airplane.
Exactly.
We're not that tough.
It's all relative. It's all relative.
That's true.
Oh, I think most things in life are relative. I think
agree.
90% of things everything's relative.
I don't like how there's no
and generational.
Robert, I don't like how there's no and Joe, there's no assembly meeting amongst passengers in a plane deciding how much they actually use when they recline their chair, that notch. It's such an annoying thing. People should we should have a conversation about this. Hey, buddy, in about an hour I'm going to knock out how low can I go? Because our kneecaps are suffering. It just happened last week. So there should be some sort of, hey, maybe the presidents of the world can enforce a policy like this. Guys, I do want to say this before we move on to topic number 2. Again, thank you for your insight and your input and your time. I do want to play this 60-second video while we're on screen for those we've lost, those who are no longer here that were part of this celebrity tournament, as we honor these amazing storytellers. So let's please memorialize them. Trio of options for Gallagher, more underrated than why. Sauerkraut, Henry Kissinger's deep soothing voice, or dogs wearing sweaters.
I like dogs wearing sweaters.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, I haven't done an interview in 20 years.
Mr. Sizemore, first name Tom. How are you, my friend? I could turn the volume lower if you'd like next time. If you'd like me to do that, Tom, I could do that.
Wow, that was something else. I don't know what I can do now.
Oh, please.
That was terrific, man.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. And what, as charming as a guy that you are, man, and as honest as a guy as you are, and as down-to-earth as a guy as you are, you played a character that isn't so down-to-earth named Scrooge in college. You played Scrooge. And of course, I feel like a thespian should rely on their instinct. Do you feel like you rely on your instinct a lot as a storyteller as well?
I mean, playing Scrooge at that young an age was, when I think about it now, the only way I could have done it is I was relying on my instincts. I could have done it the other way. Okay.
More underrated than why? Unicycles, Italian men named Skippy, or sophisticated dinosaurs?
What? More sophisticated dinosaurs?
Yeah,
I want to say the sentence, Italian men named Skippy. I just want to say
yes. Yeah, Italian men named Skippy.
I just want to say the sentence, Italian men named Skippy.
Yeah, something you'll never hear, yeah. Did you have fun? Did you have a nice time?
I had a great time. It was ball.
Yeah, man.
I want to do it again. This is great. I just think it's going to be, a lot of fun for people. I don't think people, there's nothing like this on the air, I don't think, really. No, there isn't. I just think it's going to be I'm very interested in how people respond to it, because I know it's going to be interesting to see if people tune in and stay tuned in. And I really hope they do. And, I'm all yours, bro. Let's go out and make this work. All right? I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye.
I teach a workshop, and one of my students finally said about my class about iambic pentameter. He finally said, I got it. And he was excited. And it was both his elation and those 3 words that make it worthwhile, right?
Amen. You got it. But I think I've got to have equally passionate people involved in the production of it. That passion will override any reservations anybody has as to the show's potential for entertainment or education.
Did you feel as if transitioning to the stage and performing live theater was a natural fit for you?
Yes, I did. I always felt very comfortable on stage, more so on stage than I did in film or television. So I'm looking forward to you, Avi, giving me your thoughts and your input, because as I told you, that piece that you sent me is, I love good writing, and I think that's been the secret of my career. And this is a beautiful piece of writing, as I said. I'm referring to the piece that you wrote me. You're onto something, because you're a writer. You're a creative
You're a creative force, and I want to hook up.
Thank you so much for those kind words, guys. Thank you for being you, my friend. I appreciate you and respect you wholeheartedly.
And that goes double for me to you, Ivy.
You guys would have loved my dad. He was a quiet man. He served as well. He was delved into topic number 2, our final topic of the evening. And I'm going to start right now with Mr. Joe Mantegna for this topic. I call this bottom of the ninth. The world is about to end. The elders of the universe have figured out a way to save the world. Baseball. You've been tasked with traveling back in time and visiting your younger self. This visit will take place during a time when you were rather depressed. The present-day version of yourself must not say a word when he meets his younger self. You must simply hand him a box to open, and in that box is a DVD player and a copy of a baseball game that he hasn't seen yet. Upon watching this game for the first time, your younger self is elated. He finds joy and rediscovers that sense of wonder that becomes elusive when we age. The world's been saved. So please tell us, Mr. Mantegna, which game did he watch and why? And why is it so special to you? Whenever you're ready, the floor is yours, good sir.
No brainer. Cubs beat Cleveland, Game 7, World Series. It seems like yesterday, and yet seems like 1,000 years ago. Growing up a Cub fan, having a mother who lived to be 101, and knowing that when my mother was born in 1915, the Cubs were like on an 8-year, losing streak in terms of being the world championship at that time. So when she turned 100, I remember being quizzed, because that was the year that the Cubs finally closed the deal. It looks like they were going to maybe get to the big show and all that. And I'd get these interviews and I'd say, I'd look at the camera and say, please, boys, close the deal. My mother's 100. This you could, and they did. They won it, and my mom passed away about 9 months later at 101 the next year. And so there's like no question about it. If I could get that delivered, as a kid, that game. And I'll tell you this interesting little anecdote about that. My wife and I owned a Chicago-themed restaurant in Burbank at the time called Taste Chicago. It was all Chicago-themed. So you can imagine that's where everybody came to watch that game that night. The Cubs had offered me tickets to go to Cleveland to see it. And I said, no way. First of all, it was a Thursday night. I was still working on Criminal Minds. I have to get the night off to go out there. And then I thought, what if I do that and they lose? I'll want to kill myself. I said, no, let me watch it with the fans from our restaurant. We'll all watch it together at the restaurant. So packed, hundreds and hundreds of people drinking. So go through the game. Boom, 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 boom. All of a sudden, Cleveland ties it up. And there's that rain delay. I start to lose my mind because I'm thinking Bartman. I'm thinking the 69 Cubs. I'm thinking the 84 Cubs. Thinking this is it. I don't want to be here now. I go out into the parking lot where the Fox News truck is because they're broadcasting the game. I knock on the door. I said, can I watch the game with you guys? They said, sure, because I couldn't be there with the people. So I go in there, just two guys running the little monitors. I'm sure they're Dodger fans. They could even care less who's playing. They're doing the thing. All of a sudden, they resume the game. Cubs take the lead. I realize I can't leave now. It's going to be terrible if I leave. It's going to be bad luck. I watch, boom, boom, ground ball. Out throws the Rizzo. The game's over. The Cubs win the World Series, and I'm in this truck with these two guys who are just spinning dials, not even paying attention. I whip open the door to the trailer and look out at the restaurant. Dead, silent, nothing. And I'm thinking, I dreamt it. It's all been a nightmare dream. This didn't even happen. And as I'm thinking that, so depressed, the doors fly open, people come flying out screaming, their champagne bottles are, and then the guy next to me, one of the Fox guys spinning the dials, looks at me, goes, yeah, we're on a 15-second delay. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I saw the Cubs. I saw the Cubs win the World Series 15 seconds before anybody else, unless you were there. So that I felt I kind of took that as a gift. Like, it was a terrible 15 seconds to endure because I doubted myself. But then it happened. So of course, without question, that's the game I deliver to me, to anybody, to even the Pope, even he's a Sox fan, I would deliver that to him.
Joe, that's so
He'd
cool because
understand.
that's so personal too. Like seeing it 15 seconds before anybody else does. A part of that belongs to you and only you, I think.
Exactly, and people who work for the network for Fox.
Sure, sure. That's amazing. You also, I want to bring this up because I think we talked about fathers, but your mother was an incredible human being, and there was a story that your brother mentioned to you, which of course there's a lot of great things about her, but she called him up and she said, "I need to talk to you about Joey."
Right.
And he goes, "What is it?" And she says, "I'm worried about him." And then he asks why, and you're like, because she says he's only working an hour a week because she saw that you were on, of course, Criminal Minds. She didn't really know what you did for a living. And in essence, that was such a good thing because of the way it made it hard for you to get wound up in what you do for a living. Because, when you won the Tony Award, even then she had no concept really of what it was.
No. She would tell her friends that, my son won the Oscar for the plays. The Oscar for the plays. And it's fine. She understood I was an actor. And of course, people would take her to the movies when I was doing a movie and she'd see the movie. And when I'd be on a TV show, they'd say, watch this that night or that. But when I was on a series, she had really no concept of how that all worked. And so when she had heard, if you watch the show every Wednesday at 9 o'clock on CBS, you'll see Joey. In her head, she's thinking, gee, how well could he be doing? He's working from 9 to 10 every Wednesday. Maybe I should send him $20, And, and so when she passed away, my brother told that, and I did not know that she had said that until my brother at her funeral got up and told that story about how my mother called him, because he's 8 years older than I am, to say how she was worried, and my brother saying, no, Joey's doing fine. It's okay.
And I respect that honesty because she was pretty cut and dry and to the point, right, Joe?
Oh, without question. I think that's why she lived to be 101, because she took everything like
rest her soul. Yeah,
she never really much bother her. She's got it all slid off, and hopefully I've retained some of that.
I think you're a gentleman, my friend, and I want to bring this up, and I mean that. I want to bring this up about your father too. You want to talk about something pretty cool. Both our fathers weren't. My father wasn't that educated either. My dad dropped out of ninth grade, and he never really completed high school. But one of the smartest people that I knew. Now, here's a cool story. You're essentially, I think you're home at this point, and your dad, again, God rest his soul, was disabled at that point, and he was home a lot. He took care of the house, he cooked, he did a lot, and he'd get winded, unfortunately, by walking up that flight of stairs because of his condition. And you have this image of him lying on a sofa, and you'd come over with your friends, he'd be reading, you'd say, "What are you reading?" And he'd be reading Shakespeare.
Right.
Incredible, Joe.
It really was incredible. I didn't even understand it, and I was the actor. I mean, I was at high school and doing some acting, but I thought, what the hell is he reading that stuff for? Because who could even make heads or tail out of it?
It's great.
But he was, in retrospect now, I think, wow, that was. Hopefully, I got a good dose of his chromosomes in here somewhere. But he was. I understand now why he was the go-to guy for the family. Of like, if there was an issue, he'd get the phone call. And yet, like I said, he never finished high school.
Well, I appreciate you guys and how you honor your parents. That's such a cool thing. And I know that it sounds sappy, but I'd rather be sappy than cynical in life. But I think that they're hanging out with my pop and they're having a cool time right now. So that's a cool thing.
I think so.
Absolutely. Mr. Robert Wuhl, I won't. And again, hey, if our sponsors have anything to say about this, I'm not going to read that whole thing again. Robert knows the topic. Trust me. You guys know the topic. It's scrolling down there. So, Robert, my friend, whenever you're ready, good sir, the floor is yours.
Well, I took this two ways. One is this a personal game to me, or is this a game about saving baseball, the joy of baseball? So I went and I thought about everything. And I wanted to say, if I was showing a game, this is going to save us. If you're not a Chicago Cubs fan or a Yankee fan or something, what would I show? And believe it or not, I started watching it last night because thank God for YouTube. The 1971 Major League Baseball All-Star Game in Detroit, where you had 26 future Hall of Famers playing.
Wow.
This is the Reggie Jackson home run. And they had 4 home runs. Joe, listen to this lineup. If you're a baseball, when they come out, and you can watch this on YouTube because it's going to be a big smile. For the National League, leading off, playing center field, Willie Mays. Batting second, playing right field, Hank Aaron. Batting third, playing third base, Joe Torre. Batting fourth, cleanup from the Pittsburgh Pirates in left field, Willie Stargell. Batting fifth at first base from the San Francisco Giants, Willie McCovey. Batting sixth, catching from the Cincinnati Reds, Johnny Bench. Bench is batting sixth. Here's one, the Cubs, batting seventh from second base for the Chicago Cubs. Who was it?
Glenn Beckert?
Glenn Beckert, right. Batting eighth for the Mets was Bud Harrelson, and pitching from the Pirates was Doc Ellis. Now, out of that starting lineup, you have the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys are all Hall of Famers. Okay, now for the National American League, leading off from the Minnesota Twins, Rod Carew. Batting second from the Yankees, Bobby Mercer. The Red Sox, Carl Yastrzemski. Batting cleanup, Frank Robinson. Batting fifth, great player, Norm Cash from the Detroit Tigers. Batting sixth from the Baltimore Orioles, Brooks Robinson. Batting seventh from the Tigers, Bill Freehan. Batting eighth, Luis Aparicio. Batting ninth, Vida Blue. And the coaches, by the way, here are the reserve players: Dave Duncan, Bill Freehan, Thurman Munson, Cookie Rojas, Harmon Killebrew, Don Buford, Frank Howard, Reggie Jackson, Al Kaline, Bobby Mercer, Amos Otis. The coaches, Earl Weaver, Billy Martin, and Billy Hunter. The reserves on the National League, Manny Sanguian, Nate Colbert, Lee May, Felix Millan, Ron Santo, Don Kessinger, Bobby Bonds, Lou Brock, Roberto Clemente, Willie Davis, Pete Rose, and Rusty Staub. Now, and they had 4 home runs hit in that game. Frank Robinson became the first player ever to hit a home run for the National League and the American League. Clemente hits a home run pinch hitting on one leg. He's leaning forward. He knocks it out. Reggie hits the one that goes to the moon, and I think it's Harmon Killebrew hits the other home run. I mean, it's like I'm watching this with a smile on my face because this was, when James Earl Jones gives that speech at the end of Field of Dreams, a speech this is kind of bullshitty because he says, "Ray, baseball reminds us of all that was once good about America." He said, "Well, that's okay as long as it was 1947 and you were what? You were good about America. But until then, James, you couldn't play." And everybody coming out from behind that fence is white. So everything, okay, I'll give you a pass here. But that game, when I see these guys playing, I mean, Joe, those guys, that's, especially to our generation, that's pure joy.
Oh, yeah.
That is pure joy. Oh, I didn't even talk about the pitchers. Carlton, Seaver, the rest of the pitching staff. Pitchers, Carlton, Larry Dirk, Ferguson Jenkins. Yeah, I'd like to have a staff of Ferguson, Steve Carlton, Ferguson Jenkins, Juan Marichal, and Tom Seaver. I mean, my God. Oh,
I'm mistaken. Joe Torre also. He was in St. Louis. I think he might have been in the All-Star game also.
He was the cleanup hitter.
Right.
He was a cleanup hitter. Yeah, no. He won the MVP that year, I believe.
Incredible. What a lineup. Wow.
But that's pure joy to me. And it's on YouTube. The game is broadcast with Kirk Dowdy, and you just smile and you see these guys and everything. There it is.
Here you go. I had no idea, guys, that Mr. Wall was going to go this way, but here we go. Willie Mays. Look at these Giants. No pun intended.
Look at this. Hank Aaron. Look at this. Aaron. You talk about pure joy.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Look at you talk about now. This is, of course, generational, of course. Yeah. To our generation, Joe, but tough for me to beat this one.
I was going to ask you because Joe, Robert, as you know, and again, please take this, and I know you're very humble, but you are quite the aficionado when it comes to baseball. Would you say that might be, in your estimation, the pinnacle, at least, of your youth, the pinnacle of your era of baseball?
Well, I don't know if it's the pinnacle. It's a great moment. I was in college.
Yeah.
But I remember that game, and I remember because there was all the home runs when Reggie hits it off the light tower, and it was plus.
Robert, do the intangibles matter?
There was also no interleague play. There was no interleague play. Right. So these guys did not like each other. I mean, they were playing hard then. You can see the difference in the leagues basically because of black players. More black players in the National League.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
that's why they had that advantage, the winning advantage for so many years.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Do you feel like a lot of this has to do also with where we are when we're watching a game that resonates with us so many years later?
Sure.
Meaning, right? Like it's the atmosphere. Sometimes if we're watching with friends, or at least in my case, if they're super loud, I'd rather watch the game alone if it means something to me. Not to be rude to anybody, of course. But then if you're watching it, okay, really quickly, 1994, I'm an NBA guy, NBA playoffs. First time a number 8 seed beats a number 1 seed. It was the Denver Nuggets. They were down 2-0 in a best of 5. They beat Seattle. They came back, and nobody thought they could. They beat them. I wasn't supposed to watch this game as a young teen. My parents told me, you got to turn the lights off. They usually, and again, I wasn't even in this country at that point. So I'm overseas. The game's at 3 a.m, so I can't watch the game. There's school the next day. And I decide to be creative. I take a towel and put it underneath the door and turn the TV on with the brightness down completely. And I mute it at the right time so that the light doesn't reflect. So I could watch this game without any commentary on black and white. And it was the most beautiful memory I ever had. And I don't think it would have hit me as strongly as it did if I wasn't under those circumstances. I had to almost make that game a priority for myself because I wasn't allowed to watch it. And then, of course, history unfolded. That's the other thing. Something historic happened as well. The only time I unmuted it, because I didn't care if I got in trouble at that point at the end of the game, was when we hear the call. Marv Albert goes, Mutombo embraces the ball. Mutombo, who we just lost, Dikembe Mutombo, embraces the ball in an unlikely upset. And in a way, it kind of gives me goosebumps because it taught me something about how you can overcome something. You can overcome any obstacle as an underdog, but it's a lot better to do it with a team and an ensemble. In a weird way, a moment in sports helped shape my career artistically as well. So you guys have a passion for sports and a passion for talking about it. And I thank you guys for being so in depth about what means a lot for you because you share it so openly. So thank you again, Robert and Joe, really hats off to you, honestly. And also thank you for saluting our veterans. That means a lot to me too. Really. Thank you to all our veterans out there. We totally appreciate you guys and gals for giving us a chance to even, do what we do. It means a lot. It means the world. We're pretty much wrapped up right now. What I would like to ask is for Robert and Joe to get a solo layout for about 30 seconds, 60, just to kind of let the viewers know what you have coming down the pike, a message for our viewers as well. But before I do that, do you guys want to tell yourselves anything before I bid you both adieu? Anything to each other?
I'm just happy to see you again, Robert.
Yeah, when does the new season start, and what part can you write in for me?
Yeah, there you go. I'll talk to the guest people. I'll be there tomorrow. Also, we need a role where we got a guy that knows more about baseball than any human on the planet,
or a smart-ass lawyer.
That's Robert.
Smart-ass lawyer.
A smart-ass lawyer with
believe it, Joe.
Sports.
Joe, you know that I have never played a smart-ass lawyer in my career. You would have thought I'd have the patent on that part.
But just know, if you play a smart ass lawyer on our show, there's a good chance you'll be dead in 20 minutes in
That's okay too.
The most horrific way possible. But yeah,
my wife would love it. She loves the show. She loves it. She loves your show. I mean, believe me, she sees on my VTR. No, this is not a joke. There'll be Gunsmoke. She'll have 50 Gunsmokes. She loves the old Gunsmokes. She'll have 40 Bonanzas, right? And she does House Hunters and Criminal Minds. That's it.
I applaud her good taste.
She'll like it better if I'm on it.
There you go.
Thank you guys again. Joe, I'm going to give you a solo layout first, and then Mr. Robert Wuhl.
Okay.
Just to let our viewers know any words of inspiration you might have. Robert, I'm going to bring you back one moment, my friend. First off, Joe, let me take these off because don't need them anymore. Eye to eye. Yeah, I think it's kind of cool though that maybe through this very cold device, it's great to be able to bond and remind people that we don't have to be salacious and we can get along and have some laughs and learn from each other the way that we do over here. And you're a wealth of knowledge, my friend. You absolutely are. And I appreciate you. I appreciate sitting under your learning tree tonight, this evening, and being able to listen, which is so underrated today, to listen.
Thank you, Avi. Well, first of all, look, you set the table. Thank you for providing a place where we can, when does one get an opportunity for almost a couple hours to be able to discuss things of import and have fun, enlightening conversation with your peers. And so spending the time with you, Robert, it was, for me, it was like a unique and something that's done far too infrequently on a wonderful, beautiful, Thursday balmy afternoon here in Southern California. So anyway, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my friend. You had a nice time?
Great time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My friend, please, anything that you have either coming down the pike or any message to our viewers, during these times we're in. My friend, the floor is yours solo with any message you'd like.
No, just look, hey, I've been very blessed in my life, and all I did was just kind of follow my heart. You know, there was nothing pointing to me to be what I've done now for a living for well over 50 years now. And I would just say to all of you out there, if you've been watching the show and if you enjoyed it, just know, again, just as I said, I grew up in a family where my mother didn't quite even know what I did for a living, and it didn't matter. And in a way, I think I benefited from that, because I was always able to just kind of, without any outward pressure, positive or negative, to just kind of pursue my dream. And I've enjoyed every minute of it. And and it doesn't matter, success has nothing to do with it. I would often tell people, I enjoyed acting and what I do for a living as much in high school as I do when I've been doing it, but what I'll do tomorrow professionally after 50 years in this business. It's the enjoyment factor that's important. Yeah, I make a better living at it, but that's secondary to the enjoyment. If you could spend your time, the years of your life, doing what you love to do, then you've won. You've won the game of life.
That's really beautiful. And, you know, as a writer, we're always trying to think of something and a way to express our thoughts. And I want to express something to you. So as I'm sitting back there, I'm listening to you. And then the other part of the brain is, how do I bid Joe adieu officially? And I thought of something, and I hope it resonates. Your presence is a present. And I mean that because I think you bring the best out of people by bringing such a sincerity about yourself without even not even the nonverbals. It's the gestures. It's the way you look at people, the way you listen to people. Thank you for being that rare human being that reminds us about our humanity, my friend. It means a lot.
Thank you, Avi. Thank you for those kind words.
You have a great evening, sir.
Same to you, my friend. Take care.
Thank you. Wrobert, what a joy to sit here with you and with Joe. What a gentleman.
I want you to know, Jason Reitman and I, we were at one of the award shows.
Yeah.
And we were saying, I said, best actor never nominated, alive, best living actor, a living actor, never nominated for an Oscar. Who would be the best one? And about 4 names came up.
Okay.
Well, Alan Rickman would have been, but then he died. But the 4 names that came up that I came up was John Goodman, Jeff Daniels, Kevin Bacon, and Joe Mantegna.
It's a good list. That's a great list.
Those are 4.
That's a great list.
Good actors.
But I mean, I know you concur, my friend. Like, there's so much about Joe that I think is lacking today, even amongst my students that I teach in storytelling or acting. I hate the word acting, but that's just me. But there's so much lacking. That humility, I don't want to make this generational, because you have people who are anything but humble from any generation, not just exclusive, of course, to yours. But I am noticing a trend, and I think a lot of it might have to do with this trickery. You know, social media is tricking people into thinking that if they worship the gods of TikTok, that somehow they'll learn something. They won't. They won't be prepared for success because they haven't rolled up their sleeves and done their due diligence. And when Joe and yourself are on here reminding everyone through a simple dialogue and a conversation about what means something to you, maybe that simplicity is something that we need more of today in 2025.
I have a question. When you're teaching, do you allow cell phones?
I don't.
Because I have a friend who's a teacher in my hometown of Union, New Jersey. He's actually the most fit teacher in America. He's on the cover of Men's Fitness magazine.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's been teaching almost 30 years.
What subject, Robert, does he teach?
He's a history teacher.
History, okay, gotcha.
And he says how much difficult because of social media and the cell phones. And the superintendent in my district, they will not take him away from him because the principal doesn't want to hear from the parents.
Yeah.
And he goes, but you have to take him away.
I think when I stopped teaching, cell phones weren't as prevalent as they are now. I now work for Universal, but when I used to teach U.S. history, it wasn't the cell phone so much. It was I guess it was texting. Now, of course, it's people cheating and getting answers on Wikipedia, relying on Wikipedia for everything. So but no, really, thank you for bestowing us like your knowledge and experience and having a good time and being so relatable to everybody, because when I hear you speak, and I told Joe the same thing when it comes to his humility, there's a humility there. And you guys both have such a level of passion. Like when you say something, it means something to you. And I know that sounds like, well, duh, of course, if I'm saying something, it's going to mean something to me. But we're getting a lot of noise, I think, from people who just want to scream the loudest or be the loudest. But when you're talking, there's a lot of substance there. So I appreciate you for that, man. Really.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure. Hopefully the fans will vote me in and I'll be back again.
Guys,
I'll tell you stories on the way to Greece.
I do like and I mean this when I say this. I like the clever addition to Conan O'Brien, the librarian. I thought that was, you took a beat, such a great beat when you added that as well. My friend, solo layout for you. Anything you'd like to let our viewers know about anything you have coming down the pike, or a message for our viewers? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the movie I did Saturday night about the first night of Saturday Night Live. That's on Netflix now. But what's been very gratifying is on HBO Max, as it's now been renamed again. They are showing all the Arliss episodes, and I have to tell you, I had not watched them in many years. They hold up pretty damn well. I was surprised. And as people always talk about the social, besides the comedy and Sandra Oh and all the great performances we had, everybody from James Coburn, you name it, I'd ask. The social issues that were dealt with in that show, when people said, boy, I didn't have any idea. You're talking about gay athletes and transgender athletes and steroid abuse and domestic abuse and all this stuff. I go, yeah, it was happening then too. They say, so I'm very gratified. So if you get a chance to watch Arliss, go ahead and watch it. It's kind of fun.
And you know what? I love that you brought that up, because I don't know if when I put together the promo package for you, Mickey Mantle, there was a reason why I did that, because the last episode of the first season is when things kind of changed. Ken Howard played Rocky Formaggio.
It did change.
Mickey Mantle-like character, right? He was.
Yes, it was absolutely, it's absolutely Mantle.
Right, absolutely. And absolutely a great time. Thank you again for carving out time for this, my friend.
Yes, my pleasure. Be well.
You too, sir. Guys and gals.
Bam, 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 bam. Wow. Wow. Giselle, question.
Yes.
Where else do you see two amazing, intelligent, passionate human beings like Robert Wuhl and Joe Mantegna? Like, where else do you see that? Where?
I can't think of anywhere else. These two men don't do anything ever, and they are both in the celebrity tournament. Both. Joe Mantegna, who is a Tony Award winner and has been nominated for so many other awards. And as we have seen in his 2 appearances thus far, hopefully more, we'll see.
Yeah.
Is intelligent and passionate and articulate. And the way he tells a story, it just brings you in, and I want to sit there and hear more and more and more and more and more. Like, how is this over already? Because I need to keep going.
I know. I mean, hey, look, there's a reason he's a Tony Award winner. Okay, 3-time, not 1 time, not 2-time, 3-time Emmy Award nominee. Guys, so you know that means that 3 times he created amazing work, and he was acknowledged, and they wanted to give him an award for that. Okay, that was 3 times, my friends, and then a Golden Globe nominee. And we saw a slice of that.
Sometimes you just pop in and pop out. Sometimes,
right?
Joe was kind of in the house. Joe, what did you think of tonight's match?
This was a rough one, and I say rough one because each individual person gave us details about their subject, which I don't know exactly how I should put this, other than I loved subject 2 a lot better than subject 1, but at the same time it was mostly because historically we got to involve ourselves in what everything. Julio, welcome. Hello, good to see you. And Power Store Incorporated, good to see you. And Sal got ridden, thank you. Joe Mantegna is a talent personified. I agree. He was what got me engaged, but both of them went into their subjects. They both went deep, and the show is mesmerizing. I couldn't agree more. But for me, it was that way that they wrapped it around. And yes, of course, Robert shared his thoughts and made it so clear, so crystal to us. And that last one specifically with his game, even though I think that Joe had some of the stronger way that he approached his story and the beats that he gave for the second topic. Something about topic 2 for Robert Wuhl just caught me off guard. And that Batman poster. Yes, he has a Batman poster from Batman 1989. How apropos. So, yes, no, those are my thoughts about tonight's match. But you were all getting into it as I just came in.
Yeah, I was just asking this question to Giselle. I mean, where else do you find, two passionate, amazing storytellers, just, opening up their hearts, their minds, just sharing, about their careers and their lives? Where else do you see that? For what? How much do you pay for that?
Free.
For free.
Nothing. Free. Zero. Sterile.
On YouTube, not YouTube Premium, not YouTube TV, on YouTube. We know you've got a data plan. We know you've got your internet bill. You are not paying anything extra to access these conversations, these events every single week. We are coming up on our 250th episode. This is number 246 tonight. There hasn't been a repeat. There hasn't been a rerun. It's been all new. There hasn't been a night off. Oh my gosh, Howard, you've been here from the beginning. How many years is that straight on Saturday nights?
That's about close to 4 years. I mean, 4 years plus. I felt like I was born here. I was a baby.
Yes.
Born. It's 4 years. This is live. Oh my
5.
God.
It's 5. It's 5.
It's just not know his math. 5 years.
It's 5. 2020. Starting in 2020 and into now.
Wow.
And we keep bringing these wonderful, intelligent, passionate. I know we're using the same adjectives over and over tonight because what else can I say about them? I'm sure there's some more, but every week we're bringing this to you in different combinations, in different orders, and we see how they're interacting with everyone they have on screen, and it's so beautiful because we're watching that humanity, and that's what's exciting. You might think that's boring. Absolutely not. That is exciting.
I got to share this. I love the fact that, Joe is such an amazing storyteller, as we all know, and he's on this amazing show, but his beautiful mother doesn't fully understand the dynamics of that, and yet wants to support him still. And that's, to me, that's so endearing. I just thought that was so sweet when he shared that. Beautiful.
It's such a family thing to say.
Hey guys,
Hello!
I want to try something brand new here. Something brand new. I'm going to go backstage. When I pop back up on screen, there will be a flyer.
Oh.
The flyer will feature a few thumbnails of one person at a time that will be advancing to round number 3 of this match. So, guys, I won't say a word. That's up to you guys to use those words and express them to anybody who might be listening and not watching. I'm going to pop back in about 5 seconds as I go backstage, and the first name and face before you will represent one of the talents moving on to round number 3 as it pertains to this match.
Suspense.
So it's being decided. It's being decided right now. Your votes.
Robert Wuhl, guys and gals. Robert Wuhl is moving on to round number 3 of this tournament. Robert Wuhl. Let's talk about Robert Wuhl, and let's talk about why he was deserving. Guys, take it away, please.
Oh my gosh. He gave so much detail in a very organized manner this time. I didn't think he was quite as organized in round 1, but this time he knew exactly what he wanted to say and who he wanted to discuss. And I love how he brought up people that aren't quite as well known in history, but had that impact. Kind of the forerunners of the more famous people we know. It was really beautiful how he tied everything together.
Good. And hey, I think, speaking of tying everything together, I think we could tie this comment together. Pick a Joe, any Joes. It's Joe Rizard, Joe Mantegna. They both have such passionate, genuine stories sitting right there in the mix. There you go. Pick a Joe, guys. Pick a Joe.
Pick a Joe.
Cup of Joe will be back here. We're going to get Cup of Joe back. But guys, again, the camera's going to get turned on, and we will find out who else is moving on to round number. Joe Mantegna. And guys and gals and pals, I'm going to do something right now and let you all know that, hey, sometimes things happen. We've seen a lot of that in round number 2. We don't want to say anything negative about anyone who's doing their darndest to make this tournament special to them as it is special to you. But we will be bidding Diane Franklin adieu from this tournament. She has been officially eliminated from this tournament, guys and gals and pals. Again, Joe Mantegna, Robert Wall. I do want to say this. I personally would be sweating buckets if I had to face either of those men in round number 3. Did they bring it or what? And they speak with such ease. Their level of comfort, their ability to... Joe Mantegna did this last time in one of the most star-studded round 1 matchups. We saw him on screen with Ed Begley Jr., Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Hall of Famer. And on top of that, judges like Mark Henry, of course, was one of our judges in that particular matchup. Lenny Wilkins was a judge on that matchup. It was star-studded. I think that was the night where we had something like seven Olympic awards and 6 Halls of Fame. Every one of them up. So, yeah, they are going to be very hard to face. Sad to say goodbye to Diane. There's no doubt this is a tournament, guys. We might see her again. I think we will. But, guys, again, Robert Wall, Joe Mantegna, what I loved was the camaraderie, but I also loved what Robert said at the end. Take me to Greece, because Robert wants to go. Robert wants to win this thing at the end. Hopefully, he implored you guys to vote for him. You did. Now, tonight was an easy vote because I have to remind you of the rules. If there's 3 people being advertised and 2 out of 3 appear, I will be honest and tell you that those 2 automatically will advance. That is how it happens. Do people have tech problems? Of course they have tech problems. But I stated at the beginning of this thing, if someone has a tech problem, that's not because of I can't do anything about somebody else's tech. I can't do anything about their technology. If they have any sort of tech issue that is not due to me, I cannot magically take a wand and fix it for them. But what I can tell you is that round number 3 is approaching. And what I also can tell you is a couple of things. There is going to be something that I call the Tech Wars. It's official. We are going to just one individual. This is going to be live. One individual that had a tech problem will officially move on to round number 3, but they have to face everyone else that had tech problems. So the way that's going to work, it's kind of like a gauntlet. I will draw the names of the people who had tech issues, and one at a time. If they draw number 1, that means they've got to go the distance and face every other tech person that shows up. Now, if the people that originally had tech problems don't show up because of tech, there's nothing I can do about that either. But what I will say is it does give people, in case you wonder, man, the tech, it gives them another shot. Tech happens, we give them another shot, and we also have the John Amos Bowl, guys. The John Amos Bowl, once referred to as the John Amos Cup. It's the John Amos Bowl. Again, we've had so many eliminations, but you will be voting on 4 people, just 4 people that have been eliminated. Once round 2 is near completion, you will vote on 4 of those who've been eliminated, including ourselves. Joe will vote. Giselle, Howard. We'll be voting on 4 people we think should get another shot, and they'll have a 4-way matchup. And only 1, not 2, but only 1 will move on from that 4-way matchup as well. So you think about some of the people that we've I thought that there were some amazing performances. I think of Gene Banks. He's the first person that pops in my head. Right? We think of Jason. We got to give it up. We give credit's due. Jason London in his match was absolutely phenomenal. Did a ton of research as well. So we'll let you guys know on Saturdays and on Wednesday nights. We'll let you know who some of those participants are, because round 2, it's been as long as any series or season. You think about it, right? A season usually premieres in September or October, traditionally, and wraps up in May. Now we're going a little bit past May. We're in June right now. But again, round number 2, it's getting harder and harder for all of you and for us to decide who we put in the outro, because, I mean, you look at that top 10, we've already seen so many of the luminaries compete. There aren't too many matchups left. So I hope you guys are taking this in. I can't wait to start watching a new show. Yeah. Hey, guess what? Speaking of new shows, guys, between rounds 2 and 3, there will be talk shows. So there will always be content here because we've never missed an episode. Let's take that in, because this is not a podcast. As you see, there are videos that take a whole village to put together. Myself, Howard, Giselle. I mean, we are working behind the scenes. Joe Rositano, who's doing so much behind the scenes and checking out posts. And we are all working hard every single day because we understand that the marathon is not something that promises us success overnight. However, we've found success in other ways. We found success in one another. We were successful in opening up to each other and being honest to each other, and therefore creating a bond that's everlasting. That is a success. That's considered successful. We've made friends in you who are watching and commenting. That is a success. We serve you, and we do it absolutely free. And we, not just you, want more. That's a success. And here's what else is a success. Some of the same suits and ties. It's a little bit lonely to describe the following because not many people experience this, but some of you have, some green rumors. The same suits and ties that thought this couldn't get done, that thought this couldn't win, that thought this couldn't succeed, or couldn't resonate with the masses, right now are clamoring for more. The key word is more. They want more, and we're giving them more. Guys and gals and pals, thank you all for making this place so unique. I'll turn it over to the cast, but definitely we're successful in what we do, and we love it. If you love what you're doing, the proverbial pot at the end of the rainbow, God, it's probably the second time I've used pot in our broadcast this last week, but the proverbial pot at the end of the rainbow is not going to be the deciding factor in terms of why you do what you do. You don't need to chase the gold, guys and gals and pals. You don't need to do that. What I learn is what I earn, and I'm learning a lot, and that's why I'm earning way more than anything money can provide. We are receiving an education. We're receiving an education, but how about how it's being communicated to us in such a wholehearted way, in such a kind way? Hillary's comment, where there's 1,200 people watching, but not one negative comment, not one troll. Totally agree. And guys, again, the numbers mean something, because if we're going to continue putting this show on for free, we want you to bring your friends and family in. This is free. We could be doing super chats, and with 1,289 viewers, I'm going to be very honest and direct. We could be making a lot of money doing this here on YouTube, but we're not making money. You hear that, YouTube? We're not going to take the money. We're not going to take the hard-earned money of our viewers, because our viewers are not consumers in the traditional sense. They will consume the content, but they will continue doing it for free. What we ask you guys to do is do what helps. You know what it is. It's the liking. It's the sharing. It's the hitting up of our videos. That's not just a couple of you hearing it from some of our cast. I'm telling you, I'm imploring you, if you're hearing my words, please do that daily, because we will continue uploading content. And again, it goes a long way. We want YouTube to send this out to as many people as they can. Last week's episode, 135,000 views, which is a round 2 record, which is something I've been saying for 8 consecutive weeks, because every single Saturday night has been more than all right, because we, guys and gals and pals, are feeling oh so tight. Why are we tight? Because we're crammed in this space. We're crammed in this small little physical space, but yet somehow, we're crammed in this little bubble with 135,000 people. We're all crammed together, and we're not complaining. We got leg room. We saw Paul McKeskey. If he has leg room and he's 7'1", and he did the show in the black box and he's comfortable, we all can be comfortable. That's what we're doing over here, guys. Again, I'm excited. You're excited. Joe Mantegna, he's in round number 3. Of course, we know Robert Wall, he's in round number 3. I wouldn't want to face him. Howard would want to face those guys. Giselle wouldn't want to face those guys. I don't think Joe would want to face those guys either. But guys, Joe is going to be facing Hauser Odalok, Megan, and yours. Our third round matchup. 3 out of 4 will move on. But the rules change in round number 3. If there's a 4-way matchup, it can be rare in round 3. If there's a 4-way matchup, only 1 out of 4 moves on. If there's a 3-way matchup in round 3, only 1 moves on. So let's do a little math. 25% if you draw a 4-way, you get a 25% chance, 1 out of 4, to move on to the next round, round 4. And if you draw a triple threat matchup in round number 3, you only have a 33.3% chance moving on to round number 4. That is insane. Now, enjoy the 3-ways or 4-ways while you can, because you have a very high likelihood of moving on if you draw them. Joe, myself, Megan, and Hauser each feel like we can advance. We have a 75% chance of moving on. Now, here's how this is going to work. We are going to have not 1, not 2, but 3 topics. One of those topics will be selected by our fellow Green Roomers not participating in that match. The other topic selected by a special luminary who will pick a topic for us. And finally, the third will be selected by the engine that makes this thing go. So all of you, send in your questions. Send them in right now because the time's upon us. Joe Rosano, Avi Klein, Megan, and Hauser, we're all going to be at deck pretty soon. We talk baseball. Hey, we're up at deck pretty soon. That means the four of us want your topics. Send the topics to Howard. He'll keep them in track. He'll send me topics as they come trickling down. And that's a little bit of what's going on there. But how about Wednesday night, guys? The team challenge. We saw a matchup featuring Paul McKeskey, NBA great, teaming up with Kelly White. He faced, of course, Jason London, film and TV great, and Hauser Odalock, the aforementioned Hauser. You got to see what's happening on Wednesdays here on this channel. It's called the Team Challenge. Everybody is giving it their all. A great prize attached to that. But let's go back right now to Saturday night. This is where we are. I'm going to turn it over to the gang. Outro's coming up real soon, guys. So, again, outro's coming up. You're going to find out what matchup we have next Saturday night. And right now, what I want to do is perhaps talk a little bit about maybe what happened this past Wednesday. You guys, you can see Howard's expression. He looks a little grumpy all of a sudden because I brought up Wednesday. You're wondering what happened. Well, Howard had a unsanctioned match, if you want to call it that, with Kelly J. White. The J's not silent. Guys, we were sobbing because these two men, they pulled at our heartstrings. They told us stories. At the end of the day, Howard Collado won the match. What were the stakes? If Howard won the match, then Kelly would have to give up being teammates with Paul McKeskey in the team challenge and team up with Howard. And that's what's happened. That means Howard Collado and Kelly J. White are now a team. Howard may not be happy about that. So Howard, maybe there's other things he's not happy about, but go ahead. The floor is yours.
There's something else that's been kind of itching away. You know, when something kind of gnaws at you, it gnaws and then it stops. It gnaws and stops, gnaws and stops. Something's been gnawing at me. And
and what?
I got a little comfortable here. There was something that I did not find very professional. Giselle.
What?
There's a part of me that wants to kind of sit in that uncomfortableness right now.
I'm not uncomfortable right now. I don't know what you're talking about.
Should I go, Howard?
You can watch whatever you want to do, Joe.
I can watch. Wow.
Okay. What I'm referring to, ladies and gentlemen, is I opened up my heart, poured it out. An impromptu moment that I was not prepared for. But the man in the back, great teacher, he's taught us to just jump in.
Yeah.
Heart open, mind open, just jump in. And that is what I did Wednesday night. And I'm not apologizing for that. I am owning it. I'm owning the talent that I displayed on screen. I'm owning the passion, the spirit, everything that I expressed on Wednesday night. I am owning it. And then came the judging. And for the most part, everyone acknowledged what I did. Hey, it wasn't meant to be perfection.
I voted for you. It was powerful. Each one of you was powerful, but for me, you resonated hard. I mean, even Miranda voted for you too.
Yeah. It
Phil
was
voted for you.
Yes, it was. You know, and you guys,
Peaceful Pete Sharpie voted for Pinocchio Joe. People voted for you.
You can't trust Pete right now.
But he still voted for him, and he even closed his eyes to feel that feeling. And for someone as well, Giselle, maybe let's say callous, you know who didn't vote?
You know what, Joe? Let me ask you a question here.
Yeah,
Joe, do you know who didn't vote for me?
Oh, I think I do, but I would like
singing the song.
Let us know.
He got a boost, little by little, as the words came out of his mouth. His spirit lifted. That was beautiful. Holy moly, you guys are great. I
Phil?
loved it. I'm gonna go with Howard.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you, Phil. Now let's bring in Giselle. Cast the final vote.
I am disagreeing with all of my fellow judges here. Howard, I couldn't understand a word you were singing in that song. Your voice was so low and so soft. And although emotion plays a huge role in that, you're using it as a storytelling device. You're not using it as a separate action of the story. So I still need to be able to hear what you're singing, what you're saying, and what you're trying to convey with that song. Are you... it sounded like you were almost singing that for yourself as opposed to using it as part of the story to find out what happens when people pass by. Are they ignoring you? Is that adding to your frustration? What's happening there? And Kelly, again, took me on a journey, and I felt like I was in there living his experiences with him. And it's like opening your favorite book. You can open it and you're there, and when you close it, you're still in that world, and that world stayed with me this entire time. So my vote is going to Kelly.
I need
I
need you to take me off the screen. That's too despicable. Howard.
No, I'm with you, Joe. I'm with you, Joe. Did we all see how she was trying to sway the judges? She was trying.
I'm sorry, what?
With her unobjective convictions.
Are you accusing me of being biased?
Yes. Yeah.
What? Did I not give explanations there? Did I not give explanations for my votes? Did I not give reasons?
Look, even guys,
you can disagree.
I walked off because
with
of you,
other judges and people in the comments before on the way they have voted. I've been upset about the way people have voted because I have thought they have misheard things or not understood or interpreted them in an incorrect manner. And I understand that some of this is subjective. I sat there and gave actual reasons as to why.
Kelly did an amazing job. But Howard touched my heart more. Thank you, Phil. I appreciate that.
Well, that is Phil's opinion. And I gave mine. Neither are wrong. Now, what did I possibly do to sway the other judges who all voted before me?
You literally said, I don't know what the hell you guys are even seeing.
No.
Okay?
I said, I am going to disagree with all of my fellow judges.
Okay. It's subtext, Giselle. We all know what you meant.
Play it back.
Do you want to read Julio's?
Were the reasons honest, though, or out of spite? They are definitely honest, Julio.
Julio, great question, by the way, Julio. And guys, keep on asking those questions. Whatever's in your mind, whatever's in your heart, please. Okay. Oh no. Well, maybe Giselle might judge your question. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe it might happen. Look,
it might.
You asked me. Loved hearing what Giselle had to say.
Thank you, Allison.
Okay, Allison, but I vote Giselle and Howard should. Yeah, that's a no. You were trying to sway them with the subtext of what you meant. All right, you literally said, "I don't know what the hell you guys were seeing."
No, I said I am going to disagree with all of my fellow judges.
Okay, tomato. All right.
No, they are two different things. They are two different things. I did not come on the screen and berate them and say that they completely misinterpreted everything that was happening on screen. We were given the topics at the same time you are. We were told we were going to hear two different stories. You did not use your talents, abilities, and skills to the effect that you could have to tell your story.
Giselle, there was nothing at all. You saw a worth or artistic worth in what I did. What kills me is that Kelly did an amazing job. I could.
That's why I voted for him.
Hold on.
Why?
Every judge
was able to assess the strengths of each scene. You know what a good judge does, Giselle? A good judge starts and says, you know what? I appreciated this in what your work was. I appreciated that. Oh no. Giselle's like, oh, what? No, there was nothing good in what Howard did. And here's why. Not even a little smidgen of something? Is that how much you like disdain me?
It has nothing to do with that.
Oh, bullshit.
Okay, well, if you think that, then stop working with me. If you think that, if you want that taken out of it, stop working with me. Because it's not. You were in a match. You were in a competition. I voted for the person who fulfilled the parameters best.
Just admit it. Just
admit what? Howard.
It's personal. It was
really
personal.
After how many years? That's where you go. Oh, really? Okay. If it's personal, why do you somehow manage to create these foes and rivalries wherever you go? We saw it happen way back when. You have JW to worry about. You have this thing with Kelly. You have
Howard.
I don't even know what else you have. You
Right now,
are the common denominator in all of this.
Howard.
And because of that, are you able to focus on your match with JW? You know the stakes there. You know the stakes there. Do you not know the stakes there?
I know the stakes, Giselle.
Okay, what are they?
Thank you, Miranda.
What are they?
Look.
If I win, hold on, Joe. The audience needs to know this.
Yeah.
Ladies
We
and
have
gentlemen.
plenty of new viewers, which is lovely.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I win my second round match against JW, there is a man in the back by the name of Ali Klein, who has been a brother, a mentor, hell, even a father at times. And he will be out of this competition. And I know how much this competition means to him. Well, more importantly, I know how much that trophy means to him. That cup. The Tom Trophy.
The Tom Who Trophy. You can't just say the Tom Trophy. That could be any Tom, Dick, and Harry off the street. Why? Why is this trophy? Why is this cup important to him? You can't even know that, and you wonder.
Sorry.
Luckily for you, Howard, there's time to think about that question that Giselle posed. But there isn't as much time as you'd like, because round number 2 is winding down.
Obsession's going to be talent every time. You got all the talent in the world, but are you obsessed? Is it all you ever think about?
is we are a two-party system, which kind of means you either choose, red or blue, right? Those are the colors, right? And but I'm not gonna lie, I'm very much in the middle gray guy. I'm more of a purple,
Right. It's always devastating. The goal in wrestling is like to win these championships, to be in the main event, to not be the no, that's bad to open a show, but if your main event of WrestleMania is if you're Roman Reigns, or if you're the Rainmaker Okada, if you're in that spotlight all the time, it elevates you, and that's why we work as hard as we do. We try to get to that spot.
One of my favorite poems is "The Road Not Taken" by Robert Frost, and I would I relate this poem to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he was in the Birmingham jail.
Obviously, on the flip side, always chasing your dreams and never giving up is a big part of my career and everything that I've been through. But so I think just like really knowing your boundaries, identifying your strengths, your weaknesses, writing down your goals, and knowing that you are who you are. So accepting yourself for who you are, but I really haven't. I do miss certain things. Don't get me wrong. I miss the camaraderie. I miss my friends over there. I speak to them a lot. I miss that adrenaline rush, of course. But the itch to get out there and wrestle right now, I don't have it right now. I have to be honest.
Or 2 stairs right up into the kitchen. I walk in and I look to my left, and there it is. The Green Bay Packers are playing on television. Now, it wasn't a big deal the Packers were playing. The big deal was I had never seen football on television. It's the first time I ever saw football on television. I'd been doing that in the backyard, and I had just signed up for it.
But, I've heard all this hype and all this talking of it's luck first, and then, Washington has moved up. It's the RG3 battle for the Rams. I will tell you this. When you look at these, don't be shocked if the Colts take RG3.
Like, man, we was tripping. I was tripping on, the arguments that were had and this and that. So you can get through it. But I do think that sometimes the tragedy, the sadness, the bad times certainly make you appreciate it.
But the girls themselves were so gracious. They let us open up for them way back in the days. We shared a tour bus with them for many, many months. And we had a million road stories.
So on Monday and Tuesday, I was on the tennis team. I'd gotten dusted on a Tuesday doubles match. And Thursday, the coach recruited me. And Friday, went to practice. And Saturday was the Green Bay City champion in the high jump. Out of nowhere. And at the same time, I got offered a job from CNN in Atlanta.
Oh.
I had gone to interview there. Previously, like 3 or 4 months before, I had interviewed at ESPN. I'm on a ski trip with a high school friend of mine from Southwest. And I've got to make the decision of where I'm going to go. And so I'm thinking, the next job I get will be easier if CNN is on my resume and not Channel 26.
I don't care if you get tattoos, just make sure you get them. If you get them, don't get anywhere above here. And if you get a tattoo, get them up here somewhere on your body, not where really people can really see on your forearms or, places like that, because people tend to put you in a certain little generalization when they see you like that. They tend to put you in that little spot, that little marker.
What's up, no name?
catch them when they know that I'm a star. So I gotta get moved over to the other side of the cantina. I asked the guy, why you so blind? He said, funky coordinator. Come on. Come on.
You know, at North Hollywood High, we had almost 5,000 students. We had about 2,300 gang members. Almost half the student body was somehow affiliated with a gang somewhere. You know, it was insane. And so the popularization of that culture and that music and the selling of it to the youth by the machine that is the music industry somewhat feels intentional.
Watchmen, we're in the rat's nest. Update, please. Over.
Things are proceeding beyond my wildest hopes, sir.
Is she gone yet?
Almost, sir. She's organizing her paperwork.
But if you're going to string me along like a puppet, give me something. I'm not just going to go along to get along. So when it comes to 9/11, that's what I got a problem with.
But Boston also was so serious that they did something called gamesmanship. When other teams would come to play there, they would turn the heat up in their locker rooms.
Yes.
And not give them air conditioning.
The 07 season, when he turned into the Tom Brady that we grew to respect and know. Look at how crisp their offense was. No other offense in the league was that crisp. It was drop back, pow, drop back, pow.
That I signed a 10-year deal in '95, and I gave up my life to become a wrestler. So I could not squander my life away knowing that I gave up being who I was.
And then the first year Roosevelt High School had a Hall of Fame. I was on the first ballot. They in fact, somebody told me off the record that you were a no-brainer.
That's incredible. That is so cool.
You know, and wow, what a class we had. We had an Olympic gold medalist, Mike Ramsey, from the Miracle on 80 team, hockey team with Herb Brooks.
Yeah.
We had a kid who, when I went to school with, won the Nobel Prize for Science.
Polls say that 4 out of 5 Americans do not believe the Warren Commission. Well, it's our job to get that 5th one, you know, to get it as close to 100%. That's what I feel my job is with this book. And I think anyone that reads this book, I don't know how they could possibly walk away from this book and still feel that Oswald acted alone.
You look at that as kind of being a chapter where, you know, you kind of see and think to yourself, you know, what type of resilience do you have? And having my girls was great. Having family is great.
I owe the world to, you know, the Jerry Romes of this world, and you know, the guys that you look back on and think, wow, they were such a big impact of how successful we were. The Reggie Branches, the Terry Orrs, the Clarence Verdans, you know.
I have a boss who's my organizer, who is my wife hyphen manager.
Sure.
And she's in the brains, you know, behind my operation, and I'm the operation. And we just have fun every single day.
Love it.
Good mind.
Forgiveness is very difficult. It's sometimes it goes in steps. It's not something that you do right away. Like I say, it can come out of your mouth, but forgiveness is in your heart. And in your heart, you know, when you look at someone, you say, I forgive you. I really do forgive you.
Dickerson. In his first 4 years in the NFL, he scored 57 touchdowns.
Started figuring out what I wanted to do, which led me to go in sports education. And also started being around basketball, which kind of led me to where I am right now, honestly. So when I look at that question, I'm like, as a basketball player, I'm really not critical thinking very often. But I actually had to do it a lot to get my degree.
We should never feel like we can't make an adjustment in our lifestyle, in our career, in our relationships, and that we have to always constantly be innovative in reinventing who we are in some shape, form, or fashion.
Oh, baby. Thank you.